this world's gender roles are flipped. Here women go out to earn money, while men are expected to handle the family and the house. So our hero's first goal is simple: stay alive in this upside-down world where women are the real hunters, all while trying to rebuild the cultivation he lost after reincarnating. And there's one more problem. The woman who killed him has come to this world too. Just like the former emperor, she wants her power back and plans to get revenge. Even so, with hard training, he drops the fat and the extra weight, but that only makes him more attractive to the women here, who chase him and praise him almost like wild animals. So with all that in mind, can he survive this world of reversed roles? The story starts when our lead finds a news post online claiming the daddy gun style is ruining men's mindset, and that women used to be seen as smart enough to reach the heavens, but this trend is tearing that image down. Reading that nonsense, he wonders what kind of world he's been reborn into. It's only been 2 days since he arrived, and he still can't get used to this heavy body. Before this, he was the emperor of his era, yet every news site he checks is filled with robbery reports. There were no cultivators here, just a modern world where men and women had swapped roles. The demon he fought was so powerful that both of them lost their bodies, and he only survived by luck. It was a miracle his spirit crossed into another world and found a fresh corpse to enter. That body's name was Lin Mo. From the memories he inherited, he learned he was a rich kid at an elite private school. He didn't know if that demon had also returned, but until he regained his strength, he had to live as Lin the protagonist, which meant even a former emperor had to go to school. After getting dressed, he left his room and realized no one else seemed to be home. Still, the house felt tiny to him, and MC's memories explained why. His parents died in an accident, and Lin the 1100th's grandmother had Alzheimer's and was bedridden in the hospital. A distant aunt became his guardian, and after that, the family moved in together. Before long, everything that had belonged to him was in his aunt's hands, and his life got much worse. As he walked through the house, he came to the table. The one with the oddly slick hair was Yang Zhen, and the other was Lin Zixuan. His aunt showed up and said he came at the right time. They were talking about his studies, and Yanhui had been right. Then she brushed it off like it was just a joke. The moment he heard that name, he paused. From all of his memories, his grandmother had arranged a marriage for him before getting Alzheimer's, and the girl's name matched. But when she found out, she was disgusted, and asked how she could date someone so fat. Later, when the protagonist got hit by a truck while crossing the street, his aunt canceled the engagement. To him, it was absurd. The emperor of his generation being pushed into marriage by someone else's choice in this world. Back in the kitchen, his aunt asked if he was even listening. He said it was nothing, and told her not to arrange another marriage for him. His aunt studied his face and thought he seemed different. There was suddenly a strange air of authority around him. Then Mo sat down at the table. He thought about how his diet had killed his appetite, but he still needed to eat enough to keep this body going. After taking a bite, he admitted the food smelled pretty good. Then his cousin asked why he wasn't going to study abroad, since everyone knew how openly he chased after people. Mo wondered why he should bother talking to insects when he had ruled for thousands of years. Still, since he had to act normal, he replied that he was fine staying at this school. To him, the school didn't matter as long as the grades were good. As he kept eating, MC decided he didn't want to talk to him anymore. An hour later, he was in a car when the driver said they had arrived. His cousin quickly told Mo not to get out with him. He answered with a cold stare, and that look alone made the boy nervous. After getting out, Mo stood in front of the school building. He had to admit the architecture in this world was impressive. Still, something bothered him. The men stood out because they were showing off their pale legs, while the women seemed normal enough. Nearby, 2 girls were praising his cousin's legs and calling them beautiful. Mo was so disgusted he nearly felt sick, but he forced himself to focus. If that demon was still alive, he had to rebuild his body before she showed up. As he walked through the school, the protagonist found his classroom. Someone nearby mocked him, saying his fiancée was there. Yanhui was at her desk with 2 girls talking to her. The moment she noticed him, her dislike was obvious. Mo found it amazing how irritating mortals could be. He went to his seat, leaving he confused. Once seated, he started thinking about how to begin cultivating again. Then someone grabbed his shoulder and told him to believe her. There was no way he could like him. This wasn't some TV drama, and even if he acted mature, she could still fool people with her words. Remembering that, the girl asked how he could ever like someone from a lower class. When Mo stayed quiet, she figured maybe she had gone too far. So she added that he still had a shot with he maybe if he lost some weight. MC then told her to just say what she really wanted. She asked how he knew she had an angle, and he said she wasn't nice enough to act like this for nothing. At that point, she admitted she did want a favor. She asked him to join her in a game, promising it wouldn't take long, and said she'd introduce him to someone prettier than he as a reward. Then she brought up a mountain she couldn't visit alone. She had connections that could get them up there in summer, and she said the place looked amazing at night. He'd regret saying no. Mo remembered the rumor that tall mountains gathered spiritual energy, and this was the nearest one around, so the peak might actually have some. Climbing it would also help this body lose weight, so he agreed, though he warned her he wasn't good at games, which made her happy. She explained they'd be facing an idiot from class 3 who loved showing off, so after class they could use the computer club. Later in the computer room, she said she had reserved it for them alone so nobody would interrupt. Once seated, she told Mo to log into an account. He entered the password and got in without a problem. Inside, he saw it was a competitive action game built around immortals. The girl then said she had called in the boss of that realm to help them. A moment later, that boss showed up and said he was apparently helping because Mo was his friend's classmate. Cutting the chatter short, she said she was starting the 3v3 PvP match. As the round began, she told them to stay quiet while she took down the enemy team. Then his friend told him to hide while she checked things out. Mo thought only legendary beings in his old world could be immortal, but the game's cultivation system looked strangely similar to the real thing. If that meant immortals might exist here too, he needed to stay careful. Then a death notification popped up. The same girl reappeared, looking tense. She rushed out again, saying she'd messed up and would get revenge this time, only to die again. The cycle repeated and now Mo's friend joined in to help, but it changed nothing. Outside the game, she was furious that not even the so-called boss of that realm could beat this player. Then she warned Mo to be careful because Flying Feather was coming, but he stayed completely calm. As he moved, he thought about the combat instincts he had built over thousands of years, skills sharp enough to use even in a game. The enemy team kept chasing him while two girls nearby gushed over the player. Then the girl declared he had no way to escape her. Looking back, the protagonist saw someone right behind him. He stopped running and thought that as an emperor, he had never been the one chased. Once she realized he had noticed her, the woman quickly hid. Mo judged her reaction fast, but this weak body still couldn't win easily, especially in a game where attacks were hard to land. Outside the game, he looked like he was using some kind of technique. Watching him, the woman said he was a total beginner who didn't know what he was doing. That made her even more confident as she closed in. Mo moved fast across the keyboard and mouse and launched an attack at her. It landed instantly, and the kill notice flashed on screen. Everyone on the other side was shocked that he actually won. His friend jumped up and said she had no idea he was this good. Then seeing how still he was, she asked if he was okay. Mo realized his body was so damaged that even a tiny use of spiritual energy hit it hard. Back in the match, one of his teammates told him to return, but she was out of time. Meanwhile, the enemy thought she had finally found him, and wondered why he always kept running. This time, she was sure she'd kill him as she charged straight at Mo, but he kept moving without stopping. When he noticed she had tracked him down again, he decided to strengthen his lower body once more and threw his sword at her. She mocked him, asking if he really thought he could hit her from that far away, and in the next instant her leg was struck. She drops to the ground. Seeing the sword stuck in her leg, she wonders if he was warning her to stop chasing him. Outside the game, one of Lin's friends says they should quit chasing him. The other girl asks if she knows who he is and tells her to contact the other side right now. Back in her chair, she quietly says the protagonist's name. On the other side, Lin's friend gets a call from those girls asking to meet. She walks up to Lin and tells him he was amazing. Then she asks for a few more matches, but he says he's done playing. He reminds her not to forget what happened earlier. A little later, Lin is already close to home. In his room, he lies down and says this body is way too weak. The next morning, his cousin calls while he's heading to school. She tells him to explain to their classmates that his marriage with Yanhui was never real. Lin says there is nothing to explain about a lie. As he walks off, his cousin calls him arrogant. When he enters class, his friend spots him. She asks if he knows who that girl from before is. Zhao Yutang. Turns out, she goes to their school. She says he must have had a hard time after losing his love, then adds that Yutang wants to see him and he shouldn't worry since she wouldn't hurt a guy. Before she can finish, Lin gives her a cold look. That makes her stop mid-sentence. She quickly changes it, saying it wasn't Momo baby. Right then, a girl walks up to Lin's desk. It's Yanhui. She says they need to clear things up and tell everyone the marriage was fake. Lin's friend says she's going too far. Lin Momo's still a boy, so shouldn't she show some kindness? Yanhui asks what that has to do with anything, then wonders if she likes him. Lin cuts in. Real or fake, there was never any chance he'd be with her, and he tells her to leave. Yanhui snaps back that he's way too arrogant. She hates hearing him talk about marriage, so he better never say it again. In the back, Wei says Lin is strong for not crying yet, and another guy says he would have transferred schools already. Then someone else walks in. It's the girl who lost before, this time with two others. People whisper that it's Yao Yutang. Rumor says she causes trouble, and anyone tied to her ends up leaving school. She walks straight up to Lin and calls out to him. Since Yanhui is apparently her sister, he asks what she wants. Then Yutang calls him Momo Baby, his game name, and tells him to come with her. Lin stays in his seat, clearly annoyed, thinking he is an emperor, not Momo Baby. In the back, two boys wonder how he got close to Yutang and why she's calling him Momo Baby. His friend apologizes and says Yutang just wants to play with him alone. He should go with her, and after that he can do whatever he wants. As Lin leaves the room, he mutters that these people are a pain. Yutang waits for him by the classroom door, still surprised that Momo Baby is a guy, not a girl. She says it's funny. Women used to wear battle skirts, and now that's normal here too. Then she starts firing questions at him, asking if he was really the one who beat her in the game. She tells him to meet her after class because she wants a one-on-one match. Lin says he doesn't really play that game and only won by luck, then turns to head back to class. Annoyed, Yutang wonders if he has no idea who she is. The other girl says that makes sense, Lin isn't scared of her because he's already been abandoned and has no love left in his heart. Yutang tells her to bring him to her at noon. Back in class, a bunch of boys ask what Yutang wanted with him. His friend says Yutang must like him and just wants to spend time alone with him. She tells him not to worry. She'll take him to Wuju Mountain this weekend and even set him up with some girls. Lin shoots her a warning look and tells her not to bring anyone. She instantly gets the wrong idea and blushes. She starts rambling, saying all kinds of things, including that he shouldn't be interested in her. Then another girl comes in to say Yutang is waiting for him, but Lin is already gone. In the cafeteria, Lin eats while people nearby make fun of how much he's having. At the counter, he asks the worker to pack the rest to go. As he leaves, Lin thinks he's still not used to this loud world and shouldn't let it bother him. Just then, someone starts coming toward him. She mutters that this body will die within a year, and if he wants to live, he should merge with her. Then she'll grant his wishes. People around her can't help staring. She tells herself she made the right choice. From now on, his 18 years of life will become part of hers. To her, all his joy and pain are only a tiny drop in the ocean. After all her efforts, she finally defeated the Emperor, but not in the way she wanted. Now her only path is reviving the demon world. Still, the Emperor was full of tricks, so he might not be dead. He could have even come to this world, which means she has to stay careful. Even so, she admits this world is pretty interesting. Back in the demon world, her father never approved of her, no matter how hard she tried, only because she was a woman. Men looked down on her and wanted to own her, until she put on the evil spirit mask and killed enough of them to make them fear her. Here, though, men are the weaker ones, and even with little spiritual power, cultivation isn't useless. She's beautiful enough that men follow her, but that chubby boy hasn't chased her in a while. As a woman, she figures it's better to be direct. Then she turns and their eyes meet. She tells him to stop following her, because nothing will ever happen between them. Lin just walks right past her without a word. Embarrassed, she decides she needs to recover her strength before leaving this world. She tells herself boys here are just shy, so Lin must have been too embarrassed to admit he was following her. That's why he stayed quiet. Lin, meanwhile, is irritated, wondering why this girl keeps following him. When she notices he's heading for the rooftop, she thinks he should have picked a better place to be alone, but then remembers normal students don't go there. People in this world are weak in both body and spirit, so she starts to wonder if he's planning to jump. Still, she tells herself it's none of her business. Even so, she can't shake the thought that the original owner's friend also jumped from a building. So she heads to the rooftop, deciding to honor this body's last wish. At the top, she finds Lin standing near the edge. She tries to use a skill to freeze him in place, then remembers she has no spiritual power. Meanwhile, Lin calmly thinks it's cold up there, and he'd rather go back down for lunch. Then the girl rushes in and tells him to wait. Holding his stomach, Lin asks what she's doing. She grabs him and tries to pull him down from the edge, but she's caught off guard by how heavy he is, and both of them crash to the ground. In the fall, she ends up breaking a rib. Lying on top of her, Lin says he didn't even get a chance to react and asks what she was trying to do. The girl says she was helping because she thought he was about to jump somewhere no one would see, while thinking she broke a rib because of him. Lin is stunned that she actually thought he was trying to jump. He figures it's because men in this world are weak while women are strong. He reaches out a hand and tells her to stop imagining things. He only came up for air and never planned to jump. Then he adds that he isn't interested in her either, which leaves her red-faced. Furious, she tells him never to show up in front of her again. As Lin walks off, he thinks she just turned down help from an emperor without even knowing it. But if she doesn't want help, that's her choice. Back in class, his friend asks where he went. She says Yutang has been looking for him, and tells him not to leave after school. Lin says this is all her mess, so she should handle it. She says she'll go with him after class and play with Yutang. If she lets Yutang win, maybe that will make her leave him alone. Lin still refuses. In his head, he has no interest in losing to some little girl. Even in a game, his friend keeps begging, saying she'd do anything for him, but Lin repeats that it's her problem. He still won't go, and she realizes she's in trouble. A while later, the school day ends. Lin stands up, tells them to go, and reminds them about their promise at Wushu Mountain. As he walks away, something hits him. He remembers falling on that girl and starts wondering if she's okay. Human bodies are fragile, so she probably broke a few ribs. Since lives are taken seriously here, he could even get arrested, which would be a huge mess. So Lin decides to find her and check. Meanwhile, she's still stuck on the rooftop, complaining that this body is too weak to even stand. On top of that, it's windy and she's starving. She thinks about calling for help, but she'd rather die first. She never imagined this would happen. An unbeatable demon who defeated the emperor, beaten by a fat boy. Then someone comes over. When she sees it's Lin, she asks why he came back. He kneels beside her and notices she looks awful. Then he places a hand on her back and says she broke a few ribs. He adds that she's too weak and needs exercise, and she snaps that this happened because of him. As Lin takes off his coat, the Empress blushes and asks what he's about to do. He drapes it over her and says it's windy up here, telling her to put it on. Then he makes a call and says he'll get an ambulance. But the Empress says she doesn't need his coat. Lin figures she refused the jacket because of his size, but she keeps it on since this body is too weak and she can take it off when the ambulance comes. But that wasn't why she refused it. She was just shocked that Lin was being so nice. In this world, men are judged a lot by looks. She still doesn't know why Lin helped her, so she decides to watch him closely. A while later, the ambulance finally arrives, and the Empress is loaded onto a stretcher. The noise catches the attention of two girls nearby. Humiliated, she knows she'll never forget this day. That night, Lin is already close to home. As soon as he walks in, his cousin asks why Yutong came to see him. Lin says he'll explain it once, and only once. Zixuan notices the sharp look in Lin's eyes and thinks he's been acting way more aggressive lately. He says Yutong wouldn't have gone after Lin for no reason, so Lin must have caused trouble. Because of that, he says he'll ask his mother to kick Lin out of the house. Lin cuts him off, asking what nonsense he's talking about. This is his house too. Zixuan raises his hand to slap him, saying Lin asked for it. Lin catches his hand with ease. As he squeezes, Lin thinks his cousin is pathetically weak, so weak that he's not even worth bothering with. Dropping to the floor, Zixuan cries out that it hurts. He yells that he'll tell his father Lin hit him. Their father comes in from the kitchen and demands to know how Lin dared hit his cousin. He says he'll handle Lin himself, but Lin easily grabs his hand too. The man is stunned that Lin caught him so easily. Lin tells him to take this as a warning. Don't mess with him again. The man starts crying and calls Lin violent. Then he calls Lin's aunt over, saying Lin is causing trouble. When she arrives, she tells everyone to be quiet. Looking at Lin, she feels like he's changed. She says she doesn't care what happened and tells him to apologize to his uncle. Lin thinks this is the first person bold enough to ask an emperor to apologize. He says he did nothing wrong, so he won't. She fires back that if he won't apologize, he won't get his vacation allowance. Lin says he doesn't need it. Back in his room, Lin wonders if she meant money. Then he remembers that without it, he can't go to Wazoo Mountain. He has nothing valuable in the house and no savings, so he thinks about selling some clothes and shoes, then opens his computer. He's surprised when buyers respond almost right away. But instead of normal offers, 3 girls start asking weird personal questions, like whether the clothes still smell like him. Lin is caught off guard. Demons never scared him, but those girls do. Even so, he still plans to sell the stuff for money. And he wonders why money is his first concern, when getting his strength back should matter more. The body is the base of cultivation. If he can absorb spiritual energy again, money won't matter much. A few minutes later, he's completely worn out. Without spiritual power, this body can't keep up, so he'll have to rebuild it from the ground up. Then his friend calls. She says she wants to talk about Wuzhu Mountain. Her friend heard he's going too, and asks if they should pick another day. Lin says it's fine, they can still go. She tells him the bus leaves in the morning, so he better not be late. The next morning, Lin comes to the table for breakfast. Zixuan asks why he's up so early, and whether Yanwei didn't ask him out. Lin says nothing. That only makes Zixuan more suspicious, and he starts wondering what Lin is planning. He mocks Lin for eating like a beggar, then says his bus is here. At the bus, Yanhui calls out to him. She says she's nervous, so they should get on fast. Once inside, she tells another girl that Lin has changed since she rejected him, and even fought with Zixuan and his father last night. Yanhui says she always knew bringing Lin to Wuzhu Mountain was a bad idea. She points out that he's really coming, and the other girl jokes that he looks too huge to make the climb. Lin's friend steps in and says they're classmates, so they shouldn't talk about him like that. Privately, she didn't expect Lin to show up, but since he wasn't scared of Yanhui, she decides to stay by his side so he won't feel left out. Then Lin gets on the bus. As he heads to his seat, Yanhui stops him. She asks why he shoved Zixuan. His friend quickly steps in, saying it must be a misunderstanding because Lin is usually calm. Then she calls him to the front, saying the view is better there. Once they're up front, she asks the driver to stop at the next station to pick someone up. Lin just hopes Wuzhu Mountain won't disappoint him. Then he notices a girl riding a motorcycle beside the bus. She pulls in front of it. The bus slams on the brakes. When the rider takes off her helmet, it's Yutang. Lin's friend panics, afraid Yutang stopped the bus because of Lin Mus. She gets up, planning to speak to her first. When asked what she's doing there, Yutang says she's looking for that fat boy. Spotting Lin, she says she would have missed him if he weren't so big. The whole bus bursts out laughing. Yutang tells Lin not to go to Wuzhu Mountain. He should come play games with her instead, and if he does, she might even help him get his wife back. Lin doesn't even care about that, and tells her to leave him alone. Yutang asks if she's bothering him, then thinks that if not for him, she'd never have lost even once. She presses him, will he come with her or not? Lin suddenly looks surprised. He notices her necklace carries a trace of aura. The refining is rough, but making something like that in this world is still hard, which makes him wonder if cultivators still exist here. He says he'll play with her after climbing the mountain. Then his friend suggests they all just go together. Yutang asks if Lin is really serious about climbing it. Since he's unpopular and overweight, she decides she'll watch him try. Another guy shows up and offers Yutang the empty seat next to him. She ignores him and calls a friend to deal with her motorcycle. Then she asks Lin if he has the game, because she wants to play right now. Lin agrees but says if he wins, he wants something in return. Yutang accepts and says that if she loses, then he'll have to be her servant forever. She keeps talking to Lin and completely ignores the other guy. Then that guy asks Zixuan whether Lin is actually good at games, and why Yutang is so set on playing him. Zixuan has no clue and just thinks Lin is a pain. Soon, Lin and Yutang are playing again. Lin spots an opening and sets up his attack. Yu-Tang is shocked by how fast he's moving. He takes the clash head-on, and the game announces that Momo Baby is the winner. Outside the game, Yu-Tang still can't believe she lost. She asks how his aim could be that precise. Lin says every move was planned from the start, and the game is easy. Yu-Tang starts thinking he's a genius, not knowing he used cultivation to sharpen his brain. Since Lin won, it's time to name his prize. He asks for 10,000 in cash. Yu-Tang asks if that's really all. She says she could even help bring back his ex-fiancé, and if he's willing, he should become her sparring partner from now on. Lin ignores all that and asks for the transfer, thinking he's finally got the money he needs to rebuild this body. Yu-Tang pulls out her phone and sends it. She also gives him her number and says he has to answer if she calls, but he's not allowed to call her first or share her number with anyone. Lin thinks that even when he was emperor, he wasn't this arrogant. Yu-Tang stands up and complains there's barely any room. Then she orders Yan Hui to move to the front. Yan Hui gets nervous, thinking all her effort to sit by Zixuan just went to waste. Yu-Tang tells her to hurry up. Yan Hui wants to snap at her sister, but with everyone watching, she holds back. Then Zixuan says Lin wanted to talk to her, so she should go hear him out. Yan Hui gets up and walks toward Lin. Zixuan is thrilled, thinking this means he can sit next to Yu-Tang. He tries to introduce himself, but Yu-Tang immediately shuts him down and tells him to be quiet. She thinks that if she'd known he was this annoying and drowned in perfume, she would have rather sat with Lin. When they reach Wuzu Mountain, the students are stunned by how tall it is. Lin's friend tells everyone to stay together and not fall behind. Half an hour later, Lin Mole looks at the other boys and thinks they're in even worse shape than he is. He decides that once he gets his power back, he'll punish them every day for centuries. His friend sees no one helping him, but she feels she can't step in. If others saw her with him, people might talk. 20 minutes later, Lin, the 1,100th, is still climbing the mountain. He feels like he can't go much farther. Even though he has the worst stamina in the group, those boys who look soft are actually in decent shape. Seeing Lin struggle, his friend decides that since she brought him here, she should help him. She asks if he needs it, but Lin Mo tells her to keep going. He says he can handle it. In his mind, this kind of exhaustion is nothing compared to what he endured in his past life. His friend can't understand why he's pushing himself this hard. She tells him she'll go ahead, and if he really can't keep going, he should call for her. People nearby are shocked that Lin has already made it halfway up. Meanwhile, the other boys are so tired they can't keep going. Even while thinking about giving up, Lin Mo keeps climbing through sheer will. Near the summit, Lin notices a group heading back down. The other girl is amazed he made it that far alone, and realizes he's tougher than he looks. Lin's friend says it's too high and suggests they head back and go to a restaurant instead. Lin refuses and says he's going to the top. Annoyed, his friend asks if he wants to die, but the other girl says to just let him go. 20 minutes later, Lin finally reaches the summit. Yu-Tang, who was already there, is shocked that he actually made it. Too bad he spent most of the climb behind everyone else. By the time he reached the top, the others were already gone, and he had done it all alone. He looked up at the stars. This place had plenty of ki, not enough to restore his power, but enough to begin training again. If he kept this up, he could surpass that old demon. So whenever he got the chance, no matter the hour, he planned to come back and train there. Then Zhao Yutang tapped his shoulder and asked what he was doing. Lin said he was just taking in the view. She found him irritating and kept her words short. In his mind, Lin snorted back when he was emperor. Someone like her would have been killed many times over. Zhao Yutang then told him to come down, since the spot belonged to her now. Lin said he was exhausted, so she should help him down. Instead, Zhao Yutang said she'd let him off for today and handed him a snack. From now on, he was her companion. Since she was bored, she said she'd head down first. When he opened it, he saw it was something she had already been eating. Still, that didn't bother him. In his past life, he'd eaten beast carcasses. He sat down to meditate, deciding to start by cleansing his marrow. After a while, night grew late. His friend called and asked if he really wasn't coming back. Linmo said he liked it there and would stay through the holiday. While checking his phone, he figured he should tell his aunt too. So he called and bluntly told her he'd be away for a few days during the break. After that call ended, the receptionist asked what he needed. Lin asked the price of a single room for 2 months, and the man told him it was 8,000 yen. So Lin Mo spent the whole holiday training. Every day he climbed the mountain without stopping. The training was harsh, but he knew it would pay off. Then, 2 months later, his friend called to say she was on her way, and asked if his bags were packed. During the break, she hadn't been able to talk to him, and Yutang had been bothering her non-stop, so no matter what, she had to bring him to Yutang. Meanwhile, Lin Mo looked at himself in the mirror and thought that even after 2 months, the spiritual energy in his body was still weak. Even so, he said he'd keep pretending to be an average student. A little later, his friend said she had finally found him. But the moment she saw him, she was stunned by how handsome he looked. She wondered if she had gone to the wrong room. For a second, she even imagined having a family with him. Lin noticed her staring. Flustered, she started to back away, thinking he must see her as some kind of pervert. Lin stopped her and said she had the right room. She asked if he was a friend of Lin Mo. He answered that he was him. She still didn't buy it, and figured they just happened to share a name. Lin said he had only lost some weight and asked why she was acting so shocked. Even though his change was huge, he looked completely different now. Picking up his bags, Lin said they should go. His friend then thought that cold stare and blunt way of talking were definitely Lin. Mo? So she realized she wasn't dreaming. He really had changed a lot. Glad she hadn't treated him badly before. She even thought it might pay off later if she asked him to carry her. But then another girl showed up and offered to help him. Right away, his friend hurried to the car, pulled open the door, and let him in first. Inside, she said he looked really handsome now, and asked if he had spent all this time climbing the mountain. Clearly, his hard work paid off. She added that when Hui saw him now, she'd regret dumping him. A lot of girls would suddenly start acting nice, she warned, but it would all be fake, so Lin told her to shut up. Startled, his friend wondered if he hated her for not climbing the mountain with him. If she had been nicer before, maybe he would have fallen for her, and they could have had the perfect romance. Still, she told herself she had a chance. Since she was the closest girl to Lin, she said he must have had a hard time and suggested they go eat, but Lin only wanted to go home. A while later, he was back at his house, and his friend said she'd see him in a few days. Then the other girl asked if she wasn't taking him to see Zhao Yutong, but Song Yunshu said she wasn't doing that anymore. In her mind, she wasn't about to drag a pretty lamb into a wolf's den. All she needed was to use Lin's account to play. Then Lin Mo went inside his house. His whole family was shocked by how he looked and asked who he was and how he got in. Lin said he was Lin the protagonist and had only lost weight. Even then, Vesichuan refused to believe it. Losing weight shouldn't make someone that handsome. Then his mother told him to stop yelling and asked Lin if he'd had surgery. Lin pointed out that she had all his money, so how could he afford that? Then he asked if he'd still get his allowance this term. His aunt said she'd pay all his expenses and even buy him a new uniform. But if he ever messed with his cousin or uncle again, he wouldn't get another cent. Laik stood up and said that was enough for him, making his aunt think this really was the same boy. The next day, Lin rode to school with his cousin. Vesichuan asked why the driver was going slower this time, and she said she just couldn't stop looking at Lin because he was so handsome, so she wanted more time to stare. Then Lin stepped out of the car. Everyone nearby was stunned by how good-looking he was. People wondered who he was, while his cousin, feeling jealous, asked why Lin was getting so much attention. Seeing girls take pictures of him, Lin thought something felt off. Soon he walked into the classroom. As he headed to his seat, a girl wondered if he was a transfer student. Lin thought all he had done was lose weight, which only made him a little better than average. Normally that shouldn't bring this much attention. Maybe, he thought, it was because of his aura. At the classroom door, a scene was already unfolding. Yutang had grabbed Song Yunshu and gave her 3 minutes to bring that fat boy to her. Song Yunshu said there was no fat boy anymore. Yutang warned her not to keep lying, so Song Yunshu said she'd show her where Lin was. Pointing at him, she said that was Lin, and he had slimmed down over the break. Yutang stared at him, clearly not believing it. Mad, she said that guy could never be Lin. But Song Yunshu was telling the truth. Lin himself said she wasn't lying, and added that she could train with him anytime she wanted. They could meet after class. Yutang then asked who he was supposed to be. Song Yunshu repeated that he was Lin and had changed by climbing Wuzu Mountain during the holiday. In her head, Yutang kept wondering if this really was the same boy, that fat kid. Lin told her not to call him that anymore. Once she heard his voice and saw his attitude, she finally accepted that he really was Lin. Then she said fat or thin didn't matter. He still had to wait for her after class. Song Yunshu explained that someone else had been playing before, and Lin only joined to fill the team, so he wasn't very good at games. Yutang shot her a dangerous look and asked if she really dared say Lin didn't know how to play. She reminded Song Yunshu that she had used Lin's account yesterday to trick her, making her the arrogant one. As she left, Song Yunshu begged for a chance to explain, already thinking Yutang would never stop bothering her now. Then 2 girls came over and asked how she knew that was Lin. Even if it was him, they said there was no way he could become that handsome without surgery. Then the teacher walked in and told everyone to sit down because class was about to start. She said she was curious how their holiday went, but then she spotted Lin in the back and asked who that student was. Song Yunshu raised her hand and said it was Lin, who had lost weight during the break. Surprised, the teacher said he had changed a lot and must have worked hard. Then she asked whether he had won the front seat this term. A girl quickly said no and reminded everyone that Song Yunshu had promised to switch seats with her. Another argued that she had grown a lot over the holiday too, so she should get moved to the back as well. Song Yunshu realized they were trying to steal her spot, and she refused to let it happen. The teacher shut the argument down and said the first one changing seats would be Song Yunshu. As 2 girls dragged her away, she begged to keep her seat. Nearby, a guy asked Zhu Chan if Lin had surgery to get so handsome, and Zhu Chan said that had to be the only explanation. The teacher then announced that odd-numbered students would stay put, while even-numbered ones would swap with the person beside them, so Li Jiang would sit with Lin. Another girl asked if Jiang was really going to sit with Lin, and the answer was yes. She wasn't about to let Song Yunshu keep him to herself. Looking at his new seatmate, Lin saw a slightly chubby, quiet classmate and figured this one probably wouldn't bother him. At the front, Song Yunshu cried over losing her seat. Then Lin Mo got up. A group of girls rushed over, praising him. One said she'd die if she had to climb a mountain every day, and another asked if he could give her brother some advice. Song Yunshu thought they were all fake. None of them talked to Lin when he was fat. She told herself that unlike them, she had never treated him badly when they first met. Lin just coldly told them to move. The girls stepped aside at once. One of them even said his cold attitude made him look more handsome. Seeing Zexuan get upset, another girl teased that he was jealous. But it didn't matter. They liked Lin better. Later, Lin was in the cafeteria. A girl waved him over and offered her seat, saying she had to go anyway, but Lin turned her down. He wasn't sure it was safe being too close to these mortals. Those girls weren't being sincere at all. In the back, Yanhui wonders if that was really him. Zexuan asks if she regrets dumping him now that he's good-looking, but she says she's not that shallow. Then another girl comes over, saying she wants to chase Lin Mo too, and asking for help. She says surgery or not doesn't matter. She always liked him for who he was. Yanhui calls her a fake. To her, the real hypocrisy is saying it was surgery, then wishing for Lin's great legs anyway. Fake or not, so she decides to go after him by herself. Meanwhile, Lin Mo heads across campus. Then Yanhui catches up to him. She says she's here to apologize. Everything happened too fast, and she still doesn't want to get married. Lin accepts it and keeps going. She calls for him to stop, and he asks if there's anything else. Yanhui says she truly regrets all the hurtful things she said. Lin keeps walking, leaving her wondering why he's so cold. She starts thinking maybe she's the reason he changed so much. Outside the school, Lin Mo hopes the rooftop is empty. On the way, he runs into the girl whose ribs he broke before. He wonders if she's trying to take his rooftop spot again. She glances back and realizes he's been behind her for a while. The girl thinks he looks like the old Lin, but this one is much more handsome. Lin walks right past her. She's relieved, thinking he won't talk to her. Then she wonders if he's heading to the rooftop too. Catching up, she sees him going up the stairs. She quickly rushes ahead. Seeing her hurry, Lin suspects she really is after his spot. He can't believe a mere mortal thinks she can take it from him. Their eyes meet and both instantly understand. They break into a sprint for the rooftop. The girl thinks he's so annoying and wonders why he can't act like a gentleman. She's also shocked by how fast he is. She wanted to go easy on him, but losing would shame every woman in her world. Nearby, another girl notices the chaos. Back to the race, she asks why he's running, and Lin throws the question right back. Then she asks why he's not chasing after her, and he flatly says he never would. That makes her even madder. She tells him not to speak to her that way. A guy who treats girls like that, she says, will never get married. Lin Mo thinks it's absurd. An emperor from a line of great rulers worrying about marriage. He shoots back that she's no better since she's fighting over the rooftop too. They reach the rooftop door and jam themselves in front of it. Then they start struggling to get through first. Lin decides brute force is the only way past. That ends with his hand grabbing her chest. She freezes in embarrassment. Lin is embarrassed too, suddenly aware of what he touched. Even so, he reaches the rooftop first. He declares the place is his from now on. The girl is furious, asking if he knows who she is after daring to do that. When she says he touched her, Lin steps closer and slaps her. He says she touched him first. Then he remembers men in this world are seen as fragile, so he can't act carelessly. The girl calls him shameless. Lin pulls out his phone and warns that if she doesn't leave, he'll call the police. She says she's getting seriously angry. Recording her, he tells her to repeat what she just said. That makes her remember women who hit men are hated here, and if she gets caught, she could lose her place at school. She realizes he used that against her. Even if she told anyone, they'd believe him. So she backs off, saying she'll leave this time, but next time she won't lose. To her, dealing with men is way too troublesome. Lin is glad that mess is over, though he still finds her incredibly annoying. Then he remembers the morning news update and checks his phone. What he sees shocks him. The report says a farm had many chickens suspected of catching a virus, but the birds were left as dried-up corpses. Lin Mo recognizes the sign right away. The demon from before had a sword that drained anything it touched down to the bone. In their last battle, that sword exploded, and her own sword blew up, protecting her, sending her into this world. Now she wonders if that demon actually survived. To become immortal, Lin had to follow the heavenly path. That demon gained power by killing, so Lin knows she has to investigate. By the time class ends, the sun is already setting. As Lin leaves, the girls are still crowding around him. Yunshun shows up and says she'll go with him to Yu Tang's house. Lin Mo says that's not needed. She still insists, warning that Yu Tang and her sister are dangerous. To prove it, she tells him about a boy tricked by classmates who met a terrible end. Still, Lin says he doesn't want to go there, and tells Yunshun not to get too close to him. She says he's taking it the wrong way. Once inside, she's surprised and asks if he really won't see Yu Tang again. He says he has more important things to handle. Yunshun reminds him Yu Tang looked for him all summer, but he says they'll talk about that later. She tells him not to worry, she'll explain everything to Yu Tang tomorrow. Privately, she hopes helping him might earn his thanks. Meanwhile, in the car, Lin thinks the farm is outside the city, and if the demon is there, he'll kill her even if it harms his soul. A while later, Lin Mo reaches the farm. He knows he has little soul power left, but he'll have to use it, so he starts casting a spell. Looking toward a house, he senses demonic chi. It's extremely strong, confirming the demon may really have survived. Then he notices someone coming. The newcomer says they spotted him from far away. After removing the helmet, it's Yu Tang, asking what he's doing way out here. Lin wonders how she got here. Meeting in the middle of nowhere can't be a coincidence. She says she took a taxi home, but when it started leaving the city, she got out. Annoyed, she asks if he still thinks he's the same ugly fat guy. Now that he's handsome, plenty of girls with bad motives will come after him. Good-looking boys are easy targets for trafficking, she warns, so he needs to let someone know when he's in trouble. She hands him her helmet and says she's calling the police, asking if he remembers the taxi's plate number. He doesn't. So she says she'll send a few messages and be right back. Lin realizes Yu-Tang isn't just an immortal, she can track demonic energy too. Then he notices she's already back. She complains that losing weight is causing her problems, and asks for her helmet. As she puts it on, she says she doesn't want any trouble. Still, she suddenly feels embarrassed. To herself, she admits he's even better looking than those biker guys online. Lin wonders if that helmet is actually for protection. Meanwhile, she keeps thinking about how handsome he is. Then she scolds herself for even thinking something so dumb. She says it's her custom helmet, and if it breaks, she'll hand it over to those nasty girls. As for protection, it just gives her a headache. Then Lin notices she's heading straight toward the source of the demonic energy. Worried, he decides to follow and see what's happening. Back with Yu-Tang, she slips into a restricted area. An old woman spots her and asks who she's looking for. Yu-Tang quickly pulls out a gun and says the woman is bold for not running after seeing her. The old woman panics and says jokes like that are illegal. Yu-Tang asks if she knows the laws for demon cultivators too. The woman claims she's only a chicken farmer, but she secretly slides a dagger from her sleeve. Yu-Tang catches the move and fires. Bleeding from the arm, the woman begs for her life. Yu-Tang says she's a decent actress, but not good enough to fool her. Then she uses a spell and turns the weapon into a sword. Even then, the woman insists she's not a demon cultivator and knows nothing about the incident. Yu-Tang says maybe she's only refining chickens now, but later it could be people. Her cultivation is shallow, yet already beyond a normal monk. The woman is stunned that Yu-Tang saw through her. She says refining Yu-Tang would take her even further. Yu-Tang says that's actually encouraging. She rushes the demon, saying the outcome won't change. Her sword drives into the creature's chest. Watching from a distance, Lin realizes that power feels like a demonic sword. Yu-Tang is shocked when her blade does nothing. This energy is nothing like the demon cultivators she's fought before. She wonders what this thing even is. A second later, the monster lunges at Yu-Tang. She barely dodges. If that hit landed, she knows she'd die. The creature gathers magic around its fist again. Yu-Tang pulls out a paper talisman and throws it at the monster, but it does nothing. The demon attacks again, and this time it slams her into a wall. Coughing blood, she can't believe she's lost. Right then, Lin steps in to protect her. Yu-Tang asks what he's doing and tells him to get out. Lin tells her to speak politely, but she just orders him to leave. Instead, he quickly uses his technique. The demon suddenly freezes. Shocked, Yu-Tang asks why it stopped. Lin brushes it off like it's nothing special. After all, he's here. As the demon tries to flee, it collapses to the ground. As the monster drops, a huge force bursts out around Lin. Yu-Tang says the pressure is so heavy she can barely breathe. She starts wondering who Lin really is. At the same time, somewhere else in Guiwan and Lubei City, a man says Tao is the source of heaven and earth, the thing that holds all creation together. Then his face changes in shock. He asks why the bell is ringing, since it should only sound when something world-shaking happens. As the master drops to his knees, his followers rush to ask if he's alright. He says the father of Tao has just been reincarnated. Back with Lin, he asks where the demon went. The creature has already lost its power. It was only a piece of the sword, and that changes nothing. Lin uses a technique to draw that spirit into himself. He figures it might be bait from the demon to expose him, but once the demonic energy is cleared, it will be useful for cultivation. Now all that's left is dealing with that woman. Behind him, Yu-Tang blurts out that he looks really handsome. Lin uses a spell and tells her to forget everything she saw. Right after that, Yu-Tang passes out. Looking at her, Lin realizes her spiritual root is top grade, something rare even in his old world. That also means this world must have a strong place for cultivation, or she never could have reached that level. A sharp pain soon hits his chest. He figures his leftover soul has been pushed too far, so he decides to leave at once. On the way, he runs into two girls who call him handsome. They offer to take him somewhere fun, but Lin tells them to let go before they regret it. One of them laughs at his tough act and tells him to be sweeter. Annoyed, Lin knows his damaged soul is keeping him from using his full power. The woman grabs his face and tells him to do as she's told. Then Yu-Tang appears behind them and orders them to move. She throws a punch and the woman barely slips away. The other girl tries to jump Yu-Tang, but Yu-Tang dodges and hits back. A fast kick lands on the second one, and she ends up knocking both of them out. Walking over to Lin, Yu-Tang asks why he didn't fight back. Against people like that, she says, "You hit their weak spot hard." Lin asks what weak spot she means. Yu-Tang says the chest, then stares at him. Doesn't he even know how to protect himself? As they leave, she says she'll take him home. When Lin starts to remove his helmet, Yu-Tang stops him and tells him to just get on. He climbs onto the bike and the two head for Lin's house. Lin thinks that in his past life, holding a girl like this without any relationship would be seen as improper, but here, nobody seems to care. Still, the bike is fast, though he knows his sword would be even faster. Late that night, they finally arrive. Lin thanks her for the ride and asks how much he owes. Yu-Tang looks at him like he's crazy. Calling him fat, she says he was terrified earlier, and Lin quickly tells her not to use that name. Yutang points out that he never used to care when people called him that. Then she suddenly remembers something. He tricked her again and left her waiting. Lin says his family taught him to go straight home after school, so he couldn't walk around alone. He adds that he did wait for her before. Yutang says she had an emergency. Then her phone starts ringing. She picks up and asks if everything is done, adding that the tart had a very strong evil Kai. Yutang gets back on her bike and says she has to go, but on the way she stops at a corner. She can't stop thinking about the smell of Lin's shampoo. Back to Lin, he knows he needs to recover first. Then Zixuan calls out to him. He asks if Lin got into trouble with Yutang again. Yanhui jumps in, saying Lin just doesn't know how to talk, and what she really means is that Yutang seems a little stressed. Lin ignores both of them and keeps walking home. Inside his room, he sits down by the door. He knows that if he keeps forcing his power, he could damage his foundation. At least he did get a sword fragment to help with cultivation. A knock comes at the door. Yanhui is outside saying she wants to talk. Seeing she's alone, Lin realizes she came without Zixuan on purpose. Yanhui says it isn't just about looks anymore. The more time she spends around her cousin, the more she realizes she likes Lin, so she wants to apologize for everything, and asks if his grandmother would accept their marriage. Before she can keep going, Lin shuts the door. From outside, she begs him to believe her and says they will get married. Lin, however, has no intention of lowering himself to that. He thinks he once believed he'd reached the limit of spiritual formation, but now it's clear he still has far to go. As he starts meditating, he treats the whole thing like training his mental strength. The next day at school, a girl calls Lin over to eat. When he ignores her, she says he's handsome but cold as ice. She keeps going, saying he's getting more handsome by the day, like a movie star. Elsewhere, Yanhui is eating with her group. She notices another girl trying to invite Lin to her table, only to get turned down without mercy. Zixuan asks what the point of being handsome is if you're always alone, and another guy adds that even after losing weight, Lin still ignores him. Watching all this, Yanhui grows uneasy. She stands and says she'll call Lin over since they're classmates. Annoyed, Zixuan asks why she would do that when she knows he can't stand Lin. Yanhui pulls back and asks him to let go, or Lin might see and get the wrong idea. Zixuan snaps that Lin doesn't respect him anymore, and if she goes to get Lin, she shouldn't come back. Even so, Yanhui thinks that if she could have Lin in her arms, she'd have no regrets. Meanwhile, a crowd of girls keeps bothering Lin, and he wonders why they won't leave him alone. Then Yutang calls out to him. She orders him to come to her table right now. The boys nearby immediately assume Yutang likes Lin. Yanhui panics, thinking Yutang is the worst possible rival and will steal all his attention. Lin, meanwhile, can't believe this woman is still calling him fat. Then he spots that girl from before. He quickly heads off, remembering she might try to steal his terrace spot again. As Lin hurries away, Yutang notices. The girl beside her says Lin got arrogant the second he became a little better looking, and asks who he thinks he is. Angry, Yutang texts him that she'll kill him after class. Back to Lin, he makes his way to the terrace, but that woman is already in his usual resting place. She says she got there first so he can leave. Lin refuses, reminding her he won their last race, so the spot is his. She says she only let him win because he's a man, then asks if he really thought she'd lose. Lin tells her to settle it with another race downstairs once and for all. Irritated, the Empress says all he knows how to do is run. She asks if he has any other skill, because at this rate he'll never get married. Lin Mo says that's nothing special. She can pick any game she wants and he'll still beat her. With a sneaky smile, she picks up a cup of pieces and says they'll play that. Seeing what's in her hand, Lin wonders if it's the game he thinks it is. She asks if he knows how to play, then says that if he wins, besides keeping the terrace, he can ask for anything. Sitting down, Lin says he couldn't grant any of her wishes even if he wanted to. The girl is sure she'll win. She spent thousands of years playing this game and her skill is on another level. What she doesn't know is that Lin also spent years on it and was considered one of the best in his world. Before the match begins, they lock eyes. Once it starts, both of them focus completely. As the game drags on, Lin still hasn't won, and he starts wondering if this woman is the reincarnation of some master player. The match keeps going until sunset. Now the girl realizes the result is still uncertain, and if she's careless, she could lose. Lin tells her to give up if she doesn't know her next move, but the Empress just points out that class is over, so she says he should be proud he lasted this long, and go home. Right then, Lin's phone starts ringing. He thinks there's no way he'll give up. He's leaving only after he wins. The girl, meanwhile, gets fed up with the phone noise. She takes a picture of the board and says they can finish tomorrow, but when she tries to stand, her leg goes numb from sitting too long. She loses balance and falls right on top of Lin. Lin suddenly feels something very soft. A second later, the girl is totally red with embarrassment. She can't believe that just happened. Lin smacks his forehead and tells her to keep her magical spheres away from him next time, or he'll call her a pervert. She fumes, thinking this is already the second time he's hit her, and once her strength returns, she'll make him pay. For now, though, she plans to spend the night studying tactics to beat him. Outside the school, Lin Mo checks his phone and answers the call. It's Yutang. She angrily demands to know why he didn't answer and where he is. Then she orders him to come to the school gate. Lin thinks Yutang spends most of her time fooling around at school, and still has high cultivation, so today he'll find out what her secret is. At the gate, Yu Tang asks why he took so long and why he stayed at school after skipping every class. Lin says he was just sleeping, which leaves her stunned. Then she says she came to pick him up for a rematch in that game. She hands him a helmet and tells him to get on the bike. A bit later, they got to Yu Tang's house, and Lin Mo was shocked by how huge it was. As they went inside, Yu Tang warned him not to touch anything. Looking around, Lin the 1100th noticed the place was packed with games, but there was nothing that hinted at cultivation. Yu Tang then asked if he really wasn't nervous being there. After all, a girl had brought him to her house, and he hadn't even asked why. Lin Mo shot back, asking if she was planning to try something. She teased him and said that now that he wasn't fat anymore, it honestly wasn't a bad idea. Lin didn't humor her at all, and punched her in the stomach, telling her not to touch him. Seeing her drop, he was surprised that his martial art worked so well it could take down a cultivator in seconds. Once she got back up, Yu Tang said she was only joking, but Lin Mo made it clear he hated that kind of joke. Annoyed, Yu Tang declared they were playing over 300 rounds. She wanted to beat him and get payback for everything. A while later, Lin protagonist took another round from her. Then he won 2 more. It kept going like that, and Yu Tang still couldn't win even once. Head lowered, she realized the score was 47-0. Lin Mo got up and said he had to leave. Before going, he quietly slipped something under her table. Yu Tang begged for one more match and even said he could stay over, but Lin the 1100th said they'd continue another day. She offered to drive him home, yet he said he'd just take a taxi. After he left, the thing under the table started to slip down. Then it twitched like it was alive and began to move. Meanwhile, in another building, Yan Hui sat in her room, bothered by the fact that Lin had skipped the afternoon classes and wondering where he went. Then her phone rang. The caller told her to check the group chat because something crazy had happened. She looked and found a photo of Lin Mo with Yu Tang. Instantly furious, Yan Hui swept everything off her desk. She snapped, asking how that girl dared bring her Lin the protagonist home. In anger, she even wished Yu Tang would crash her motorcycle, but just cursing her changed nothing. Then a purple crystal asked if she wanted revenge. Yang Hui spun around and demanded whoever was there show themselves, but the crystal said its identity didn't matter. A dark face appeared and said it could grant whatever she wanted. Yang Hui stared at it and asked if it was some witch like in novels. The creature, embarrassed, thought she clearly had no brain at all. It explained that it was once the #1 divine sword in the immortal world, now broken apart, and if she helped restore it, it would make her immortal. Yan Hui agreed right away. All she wanted was help becoming immortal. At once the creature seemed to cast a spell on her. A purple crystal formed on Yan Hui's forehead, and the spirit told her to open her mind so it could merge with her body. When she asked why she felt no power, the spirit asked what she wanted most. Without warning, Yan Hui asked to learn hypnosis. The monster said it had plenty of skills like that, and Yan Hui thought that with hypnosis Lin Mu would belong only to her. Meanwhile, Lin the 1100th was riding in a taxi, thinking he couldn't throw his powers around carelessly, and that Yu Tang was definitely hiding something. He quickly formed a hand sign. Back at Yu Tang's house, the doll he left behind got the signal. Watching her, it saw that she was still gaming. Lin Mu started to wonder if Yu Tang was just pretending to be a cultivator, because he couldn't figure out how she reached that level. Mad over her losses, Yu Tang complained that she couldn't believe she got beaten by that stinky fat boy. Hearing that, he got annoyed too and decided he'd crush her even harder. Then Yu Tang suddenly remembered she had something else to do. As she left the room, Lin Mo wondered where she was headed. She went to change clothes. Putting on a suit, Yu Tang said this should do. When she opened a closet, it was full of weapons. Lin, the protagonist, could tell they were low grade, but even so, items like that were still hard to find in this world. As she rushed out, the doll jumped onto her clothes, determined to uncover her secret this time. Sometime later, Yu Tang arrived at a building, oddly thinking she should ask Lin Mo what shampoo he used, because it smelled so good. Inside, she walked up to a door. At the same time, someone called for everyone to raise their glasses for the newlyweds. A wedding was underway, and the host announced that the bride would now give a speech. With the mic in hand, the bride thanked everyone for coming, even with their busy schedules. Meanwhile, Yu Tang took her seat and figured she only had to wait for it all to end. After a while, the ceremony for Lin Yu and Shushi was declared finished, and the party officially began. Back with the couple, his wife asked if he was tired, but he told her not to worry. He just needed to change and get a drink. While they were talking, someone walked up to them. It was Yu Tang. The moment he saw her, the groom panicked. His bride noticed and asked what was wrong. Yu Tang told him his wish had been granted, so now it was time to leave. As he began to transform, he sneered and asked if she thought granting wishes was that easy. In the next moment, he turned into a werewolf. Just as he moved to attack, Yu Tang used a talisman. She leaped aside, dodged him, and drew her sword. Coming down from above, she slammed him to the floor with a single strike. Grabbing his neck, Yu Tang thanked the bride, and seconds later his head was severed from his body. His bride rushed in, desperate to save him. In his mind, he apologized to her because they would never meet again. He bitterly thought that dying in this form was a stupid end. After turning human again, his wife threw herself into his arms, begging him not to die and shouting for them to call an ambulance to save him. Furious, she swore she'd kill Yu Tang. Yutang coldly replied that the bride never truly knew her husband. He was an expert at draining women's energy. She said he used women up and turned them into slaves and that she was only doing her job, nothing personal. Then she used a talisman to erase what everyone had seen. Right after that, the bride fainted. Yutang made a call and said the job was done, so the rest was up to them. At the same time, Lin Mo's doll slipped off her clothes. Rushing to the body, Lin the 1100th realized the man was actually a shape-shifting fox, something that could be very useful. He decided to save the fox and started the soul reincarnation spell. Golden light rose from the paper doll and flowed toward the fox. The dead foxman's soul began to be pulled out of his body. That soul drifted to the doll whose arms were crossed and entered it. The doll then fully transformed into a small figure with long silver hair. The little one ran off in a panic, and 20 minutes later reached the hand of someone waiting for him. Lin Mo, outside the building. The fox's soul thought he was about to die. He was glad he at least got revenge, but regretted leaving his beloved behind. Then someone called him by name, Chen Shu Shu, and asked if he truly wanted to die or would rather live. In that endless dark space, Chen Shu Shu opened his eyes and admitted he didn't want his life to end here. He still had so much to say to Zhu Linyu, and no matter the price he wanted to live, Lin Mu told him he'd give him a new life. But in return, Chen Shu Shu had to serve him for 10 years. The small figure opened purple eyes, now taking the form of a young foxman with long gray hair. He looked around at the ritual, then at him, who stayed silent. Chen Shu Shu had never heard of power like this and wondered if this young man was the one who summoned him. A moment later, he looked up and realized this was the strongest person he had ever met. Overwhelmed, he dropped to his knees inside the ritual. He introduced himself as Chen Shu Shu and vowed to serve his master, deeply thankful for the chance to stand under his command. Lin Mo told him to share everything he knew about cultivation in this world. Chen Shu Shu agreed at once and asked where to begin. So Lin the protagonist said to start with the cultivation method here. Chen Shu Shu explained that energy in this world was scarce, so cultivators entered secret realms to train, but those places were all controlled by major clans and families. He added that without status or connections, even normal cultivators couldn't join a sect. The clans took people in only to use them as furnaces, then ruin them for cultivation. Lin Mo realized this world had fallen into evil cultivation. Chen Shu Shu confirmed it, saying the energy shortage caused it, and that cultivators have long hunted those who rely on such twisted methods. Lin Mo 1100th then asked if that included someone like Zhou Yutang. With a small smile, Chen Shu Shu said yes, and added that Yutang was not only gifted but also from the Zhao family, one of the 3 great families. Lin He asked if an immortal realm still existed, but Chen Shu Shu said he didn't know. Chen Shu Shu quickly begged for permission to see his beloved during those 10 years, and Lin the protagonist agreed on one condition: he must never reveal himself. Feeling lucky, Chen Shu Shu couldn't believe he had found such a kind master and thought immortals were easy to please. But the next day he was stunned. While riding inside a backpack, he realized his master was someone he never would have expected, just an ordinary high school student. Then he figured Lin Mo had to be some hidden boss of this place. Chen Shu Shu noticed how popular Lin Mo, the 1100th, seemed, with girls staring at him everywhere. He even thought that if he were a girl too, he'd probably fall for him. Still, he couldn't figure out what Lin Mo the protagonist was planning, since the fox couldn't stop thinking about shady stuff. Before long, Lin Mo reached his seat, but something felt off. There were snacks waiting underneath. Lin 1100th guessed they might be from his annoying friend Song Yun Shu. Then his ex, Dian Hui, walked over and said she remembered his favorite snacks, so she bought them for him. He was stunned it was her. Right then his cousin came over, asked what Dian Hui was doing, and got seriously mad. She says Lin Mo is her fiancé, so spoiling him a little is only natural. That instantly sets the guy off. Eyes filling with tears, he lifts his hand to slap her and curses her out. Dian Hui catches his wrist hard and tells him to stop. Lin the protagonist is surprised his cousin got shut down so easily by a girl. Dian Hui warns him once, keep bothering Lin Mo, and she'll deal with him herself. The purple-haired boy is left helpless and crying. He finally runs off, leaving her behind. She tells MC that if anyone gives him trouble, he can call her and she'll come handle it. The other girls find it ironic. Now that he is better looking and more confident, she's suddenly interested. By noon, it's time for lunch. A blue-haired girl rushes over and tells the blonde that Yan Hui is trying to steal her man. The president calls them idiots and says Yan Hui can have the fat guy. She doesn't want him. Then something grabs her attention. It's Lin Mo's ex, walking over with a smug, nasty look. She calls out to Lin the protagonist and invites him to eat with her. The blue-haired girl thinks it's a provocation and tells Yutang not to bother with it. Yutang coldly says that if Lin Mo gets in her way, she'll beat him up. That makes Lin the 1100th visibly angry. He leaves with Dian Hui while she believes she can win him back. Lin Einriken can't believe he lost control after so many years of cultivation and realizes he still needs to improve. Inside his pocket, the little fox is amazed. Even Zhao Yutang gets jealous over his master. Yutang angrily asks if Lin the protagonist really complained about her, but the blue-haired girl tells her to let it go since she can't exactly hit a boy. Yutang drops the issue with the fat guy and turns her attention to the other girl, who's getting way too bold. Lin Mo reaches the ground floor. The dark-haired girl is eating a pastry and tells him to hurry up. He feels the hostility right away and figures she's still upset about yesterday. Lin the 1100th sits down and makes the first move. She expected him to make this hard for her, but she had already prepared an answer for that. Impressed, he admits she's really good at the game. Then his stomach growls. Holding the bag, he stares at her blankly for a second. He opens it and finds a lunchbox inside, then snaps apart his chopsticks and starts eating. She thinks it's rude to eat in the middle of their match, but Lin Mo casually says it's lunchtime. She thinks that at this rate he'll end up fat again. Then she brings up the fat guy who used to be on the terrace, and he claims he's never seen anyone like that. Annoyed, she admits just thinking about that boy makes her ribs hurt from his weight, but her face suddenly changes when she sees something on her phone. Someone posted a picture of Lin Mo in the girls' group chat. That's when she realizes Lin, the protagonist, really is the fat guy from before. Eyes turning red, she says she asked a question, then shows him the photo and asks if he really doesn't know the person on her phone. Without shame, Lin Mo says he's never seen anyone that fat. She gets annoyed and calls him a terrible liar. Still, she understands he doesn't want to talk about the past, so she tells him that wasn't why she asked. Then she starts digging through her bag. She pulls out his blazer, saying she washed it and wasn't sure it would still fit him now. That gesture catches him off guard. He takes the blazer, still stunned. Then the young woman stands up, calls it a tie, and says he's really good at the game. Lin Mo says very few people can match him, and she's one of the rare ones who surprised him. She says their battle ends here, but that leaves him quiet. A moment later, he calls out to her and says they should make it best 2 out of 3 to settle it properly. Smiling brightly, she agrees and finally introduces herself as Hang Sin Ni. The name surprises Lin Mo, and he starts thinking it over. The little fox suddenly jumps out of his bag in shock. He's amazed that Lin Mo 1100th is so incredible women keep throwing themselves at him. But he ignores that and asks where the resources for demonic cultivation come from. The fox quickly answers, they come from the Dark Gate network. Those goods are guarded by the Shadow Clan, which mainly protects demonic cultivators and members of other families. They also sell to decent people, as long as they can pay. Lin Mo is surprised and asks how the fox got his money. The little fox says he earned it through assassination jobs, then adds that the fastest way is finding a sugar mommy. He even says his master wouldn't need to work at all if he went that route. Lin Mo protagonist instantly grabs him, and the fox squirms while saying he shouldn't have said that. Lin Mo stuffs him back into his pocket and says that once they're home, he'll check the materials, especially how to make spirit talismans. By evening, the school has gone quiet. After classes, the blonde calls out to him using the nickname of that fat guy, but Lin the 1100th keeps walking. Irritated, Zhao Yutong tells him to stop acting like he didn't hear her. She says his ex tried to provoke and embarrass her today, but he replies that Yan Hui isn't his ex. Yutong says she doesn't care, then claims she's a respectable person, so he should cooperate and go for a ride with her on her motorcycle. Lin Mo says nothing, keeping a blank face while he thinks. With a teasing smile, she asks whether Lin, the protagonist, can climb on by himself or if he wants her to carry him. When he agrees, they head to the motorcycle, and she calls him a good boy. From behind a lamppost, someone watches and curses the blonde for going out with her precious Lin. The 1100th, a shadowy voice asks why she doesn't just hypnotize him, but the younger girl says she wants Lin Mo to give himself to her willingly, body and soul. Soon the pair speed away from the school. He notices the reckless pace and says Yutong is taking it too far. With a sly smile, she tells him he's naive if he believes a woman's words. Then Lin, the protagonist, asks in a suggestive tone if she's actually interested in him, making her blush and freeze. The motorcycle suddenly skids to a stop. Face red, she demands to know if she hasn't made it clear that she doesn't like him. Lin Mo calmly asks if she really doesn't want him. She denies it as hard as she can, so he accepts that and says they're just classmates. She shouldn't get too involved with him. Yutang snaps back that tons of people want to date her, and if not for the games, she never would have noticed him. In Lin, the 1100th's pocket, the little fox thinks his master is unbelievable. He wonders when Lin Mo put that paper doll on her, and how he did it with just a normal sheet of paper. Sometime later, he gets home. He starts thinking about the Dark Gate network. Then he calls for his little companion, who jumps onto the table. As Lin, the protagonist, types, the fox confidently says he'll get into the dark network fast. He keeps pounding at the keyboard until he finally gets in, but the fox lands them on a very suggestive site. It's a page for hiring night workers, along with explicit adult books. Lin Mo asks if this is really the right site, and the fox says yes, they just need to find the treasure section. Lin the 1100th had hoped for the true world of cultivation, but even a low-grade spirit weapon from the immortal realm counts as top treasure here. The main things he needs are 1,000-year ginseng and immortal stones, yet they cost more than $100,000. His little companion still tries to persuade him to sell himself to rich older women. Looking stressed, Lin Mo asks if he really seems that poor, and the fox gets the message. He asks how much money the fox has, and the answer is only 30,000 in his account. Taking the mouse and focusing on the computer, Lin, the protagonist, says that'll be enough. The white-haired young fox asks if his master really plans to make talismans. Chen says Lin the 1100th should consider something else. Talismans can sell well, but they're hard to make, and their materials are low quality. Linmo says he'll only make low-level talismans to sell, so there's nothing to worry about. After sending him back to training, Lin leaves, while the little apprentice thinks those materials can only make useless junk. The next day, Lin the protagonist wears clothes that hide his identity plus a mask and glasses. A man in a van asks if the delivery is for him, and MC answers with the name White Fox. The man hands over a big box and asks for a 5-star rating for the great service. Linmo admits the delivery really is fast, so he actually thinks about rating it. From his pocket, the apprentice explains that the Shadow Clan's business network can even rival the Great Families. A few minutes later, he stares at 2 sheets of paper on his desk. The small white fox asks if he truly plans to make those talismans. He's heard the big family talisman masters train for years before they even begin, and even then only about 30% make it. Linmo lets out a sigh and closes his eyes. Then he starts drawing on the paper with shocking speed. A moment later, he says the dragon talisman is done, leaving the little fox stunned. The fox can't believe it. Lin the protagonist drew the symbols in a flash, made 2 at once, and he swears a dragon appeared for a second. Lin the 1100th tells him to be quiet. These are only low-grade talismans. Still, he only has enough spiritual power to make 2, so he needs more spiritual stones. After that, Linmo puts them up for sale for 500,000, but he's caught off guard right away. As soon as the post goes up, anonymous bids start climbing fast. His companion explains that talismans sell easily, great cultivators use them, and even normal people do too, so good ones are always valuable. Then Linmo senses something may have happened with his paper doll. Looking through its eyes, he sees the blonde on the dark network too, checking out something odd. Dark circles under her eyes. She complains that looking into a missing kid is exhausting. Then she spots the high-grade talisman listing, including its invisibility effect, and it looks pretty real. She figures buying it is smart. She doesn't know this demon, so it's better to be ready if she has to watch him. Linmo thinks the spiritual stone would help, and a missing demon is strange enough to make him wonder if it's the venerable demon. The next day at school, during lunch, Linhill heads up the stairs and gets stopped by 3 boys. They mock him, saying he's just dressing up to get girls' attention, but underneath he's still the same trash. Linmo, the protagonist, keeps a cold, unreadable face. His ex is enjoying the hypnosis even more now, since it's giving her a perfect chance. Then, with a hard stare, Linmo tells them to move. That only makes them madder. The boys sneer and ask if he has a death wish, then decide to kill him on the spot. Before one can keep talking, Linmo 1100th catches him with one huge hand. In one brutal motion, he slams the guy into the wall. The hit is strong enough to knock him out, and Linmo shoots an annoyed glance to the side. The other 2 freeze in horror, like they can't believe he'd go this far. His ex thinks this is her chance to step in and pull him close, but a black-haired girl cuts in front of her first. She yells at them to stop picking on him. It's the board game girl he met before, and she demands to know what's happening. The beaten boy starts crying and lies, saying they only wanted to be friendly, but Linmo shoved him and broke his nose. The girl questions that story. There's no proof he's telling the truth. Lin, the protagonist's ex, gets mad and snaps that the girl ruined her moment. Then she acts innocent, asks if Lin the 1100th is okay, and says she rushed over when she heard the commotion. She asks if the black-haired girl helped him, then thanks her. She even says she'll treat her to lunch someday to repay her. After that, she grabs Linmo's hand and asks him to leave with her, but the black-haired girl catches her wrist. Calm but firm, she says it's disgusting for a woman to take advantage of a helpless man. The ex glares at her and warns her to stay out of it and mind her own business. Linmo tells her to drop it. They can go now. Realizing she's losing control of him, Yanhui tries to use hypnosis again. It fails at once and has no effect on him. The demon with her warns her not to use magic again today. He has a bad feeling. The black-haired girl says she heard the younger girl was the one who dumped Lin, the protagonist. As she walks past, she adds that she actually feels sorry for her. The brown-haired girl can only stand there. Shaking with anger, she thinks the girl is awful and calls Linmo a shameless dog for not obeying her. Later, after school, Lin the 1100th gets home. He sits at the computer with his little companion. Chen says someone offered 2 spiritual stones plus a lot of cash. They clearly know how to bargain. Linmo sees it's from the blonde girl and wonders if she's with the Phoenix Group. It might even be a trap. Still, his companion had said the Phoenix Group hunts demonic cultivators, so they shouldn't be mixed up in this. But the fox says a trap isn't even needed. The Dark Gate network already helps the Phoenix Group wipe out demonic cultivators every day. Just then, a notice pops up on his screen. The meeting spot is Fengtang Station, which looks normal enough. Even so, he goes in disguise again just in case. The little fox doesn't get it, since the site and delivery system are supposed to be totally safe. The next day after class, Linmo finishes the exchange without trouble. After a 200,000 cash fee, he figures he still has 700,000 left in stones. Even then, he didn't expect this world's materials to be so low quality. He absorbs all the raw materials at once. Smiling, he realizes he can at least restore some spiritual power that way. Then he takes out 2 more talismans he made. The pair releases a huge dragon from the paper. Linmo tells the fox to sell both on the Dark Gate network, and the fox agrees. Comments start pouring in, with people praising the master who made these talismans. Lin, the protagonist, thinks this world's cultivation is really behind if a basic first-level talisman gets people this excited. Soon the little fox turns excited and confused. Someone has already offered 3 million for Linmo's talisman. Not long after, the price jumps straight to 4 million. Elsewhere, someone in a high-tech room blurts out that everyone's gone crazy. How can a first-level talisman cost over 3 million? A voice over the mic answers that the invisibility talisman sold earlier was no ordinary item, so they want to find its maker. At the blonde girl's home, she watches her computer. What she sees only makes her more annoyed. Yutang clicks the mouse once and adds another million to the auction. Linmo just stands there with his arms folded, watching the numbers rise. He even has to cover the fox's mouth to keep him from making noise. Before long, the bidding hits 15 million in cash. The comments now are people trying to contact him, especially asking to meet. Linmo knows that's dangerous, so he decides to vanish for a while before every cultivator in this world starts chasing him. Still, he plans to make the most of it, and checks on the blonde girl who joined the bidding. Sometime later at her house, Lin the 1100th sees she's still investigating the missing boys. They were all virgins, and the case seems tied to the Demon King. From her screen, he realizes Yutang is running live surveillance. It also makes him a little uneasy. He didn't know she was into this kind of thing. She tenses up at what appears on the screen and slams the table, saying, "The boy is horrible and not even his hairstyle can save him." The awful guy then starts searching online for ways to look better in photos. He tries anything that might make him look good, even weird filters. Then his thoughts go to plastic surgery and facial work too. It gets worse. He's also looking into a flatter stomach, longer legs, and getting rid of love handles. Yutang feels like she can't keep living after seeing this disaster on her screen. She admits even that fat guy wasn't this unbearable. Later during lunch at school, Linmo notices the blonde girl says something pointless to him. Then his attention shifts to someone in front of him. It's the black-haired girl, asking if he wants to play. If not, that's fine. She doesn't want an easy win. Linmo stays quiet, staring at the board. Han says he's not feeling well, and decides to leave. He doesn't want to admit defeat, but he also won't take advantage of Linmo right now. Lin, the protagonist, heads to the edge of the terrace. As he climbs up for some air, he thinks that if he wants Yang power, he'll need to make a formation, and the strongest ones are demonic. If only he had some tea, he might be able to do it. The girl warns him not to fall by accident, and he only smiles back. Then Linmo walks toward her, softly humming. But Yan Hui, who has been secretly watching, gets even more annoyed. Soon Lin the 1100th is stopped on his way off the terrace. It's the brown-haired girl, furious at him. He asks what her problem is. She starts to answer with a dark look, but Han Shini, standing with Linmo, tells her to stop bothering him. The younger brown-haired girl snaps back that Han Shini better not touch her man. He belongs to her down to his nails and teeth. Then she turns and warns Lin the protagonist to wait for his painful death. Watching her leave, Lin the 1100th wonders when exactly he became hers. Later that night, at Yan Hui's home, she showers in frustration and admits she underestimated Linmo. She starts regretting not going after him from the start, but this time she's sure he'll be hers with no hesitation. With a crazed look, she decides that tonight she'll hypnotize him and turn him into her obedient pet. Her dark aura spreads out and reaches his house. That purple force moves toward him while he's still asleep, but the barrier made from his own energy blocks the attack. His little companion wakes up and senses that something is wrong. It wonders what could have caused trouble while he slept. Linmu quickly figures out it's remote hypnosis, and he's shocked anyone in this world would dare use that on him. The next day at school, the brown-haired girl steps in front of him and blocks his way. She tells him to get ready tonight and come to her house. Malice fills her eyes as she imagines kissing him, making her even more eager for night to come. Then her expression turns crazier. She's convinced the hypnosis worked and that Linmo will obey. Meanwhile, Lin, the protagonist, keeps walking like nothing happened, smiling because he already knows she was the one who tried to hypnotize him last night. He had secretly stuck a paper doll onto her back. His consciousness was linked to that little doll, letting him watch her. Later in class, something suddenly grabs his attention. The paper doll on his ex has disappeared. It vanished because the brown-haired girl found the tiny spy attached to her, then burned it away with purple demonic flames. Her demon mocks her for being pathetic enough to miss that she was being watched. Sweating and tense, Yan Hui wonders who would be wary enough to spy on her. Her companion tells her it doesn't matter who it is. She can't let anyone ruin the plan. After school, as evening starts to set in, Linmo heads out thinking whoever destroyed the paper doll may be tied to the venerable demon. Still, with so many cultivators in this world, he can't rush in and may need the Phoenix Group's help. If he's right, the blonde girl should pass by right about now. What he's about to do in this world has a simple name: fraud. The girl suddenly realizes she's hit him. She slams the brakes on her motorcycle as Linmo falls to the ground. She asks why he crossed without looking. Holding him up, she asks if he's hurt and says she'll take him to the hospital. But he just gets back up with a blank stare, leaving her confused. With a sly smile, Lin the 1100th admits he's learned how to be a little bad in this world. The blonde has no idea what's wrong with him and tries to stop him. Then he says he's going to his ex-girlfriend's house tonight because she's waiting for a special night with him. That shocks her, since she knows that doesn't sound like him at all. Then another thought hits her. She calls after him trying to snap him out of it, but he keeps walking, leaving her stunned. Yutang wonders if the fat guy was really hypnotized. She makes a hand sign to break the spell, drawing a star in the air before pressing her hand to his forehead. The light slowly returns to his eyes, then fades again almost at once. She realizes it didn't work and starts wondering if the caster is really that strong. So the blonde decides to use the Phantom Redemption spell, striking Linmo's forehead with a heavy magic palm. That restores his normal state, showing he had clearly been faking it. Holding his face, he asks what happened and why he's there. She says she was about to ask him the same thing, and wonders if he'd met his ex-girlfriend. He admits it, then asks why she cares when she's the one going to see her fiancé. Flustered, she says he jumped in front of her bike and got hit, so he needs to go to the hospital. Linmo asks how she can still say that after hitting him, then refuses. If she feels guilty, she can pay his medical bill later. That makes her grab him by the collar. She shoves a paper in his face and says she'll write him a check so he can't sue her later. He can spend it however he wants, but if he uses this against her someday, he'll regret it. Linmo wonders if a few extra zeros would be enough to trade for a few hundred spiritual storages. Then she speeds away on her motorcycle. Over her helmet communicator, Yutang orders someone to gather everything on Lin, his ex-girlfriend, now a suspect, and gets confirmation. Soon she reaches the ex-girlfriend's house and removes her helmet. She raises a hand wearing a special ring, then releases her magic sword. In seconds, she makes dozens of cuts through the doorknob to get inside. The cuts are so exact that the door drops while the knob stays in place. She steps in and notices family photos. They don't seem to show her family, just two boys who look more like friends. Then she reaches the ex-girlfriend's room and sees just how obsessed she is, with countless photos of Lin Mo all over the wall. She spots several manuals about him, and decides to check them. Curious, she slowly flips through the pages. Her face turns red from how shameless the contents are. Deciding it's all way too perverted, she plans to shut this down, but her communicator suddenly alerts her to a new problem. Yan Hui has vanished without warning, and it's suspicious. The girl realizes Yan Hui is likely tied to the missing person cases, and needs the team to issue an alert right away. She also admits Yan Hui was clever to put together such a careful plan so fast. Back at the protagonist's house, mist covers the place. Lin Mo decides he's seen enough. His ex clearly has some link to the venerable demon, so the Phoenix group should focus on her. Then a noise catches his attention. It's his cousin, asking if he's checked the news. Lin, the protagonist, opens the door, at least a little willing to listen. The purple-haired boy quickly says Yan Hui is being hunted, but Lin Mo answers that he knows nothing and wants nothing more to do with her. He tries to end the talk only to be met by a hard slam at the door. The young man insists he at least look at what's happening on the news. Lin, the 1100th, sees a report saying Yan Hui from Fengsheng Institute is a nationwide wanted suspect. He thinks the search team works fast, but they still haven't found her. The little fox says this woman is cruel and stupid for messing with its master. Lin Mo knows that if the venerable demon wants to drain a young man's yang power, she'll build a careful formation, mainly eel-based. He quickly crouches and starts digging through a box. The little white fox wonders what he's looking for, then notices a spark in his movements. Even more confused, it sees that he only pulled out a few ordinary wooden boards. Lin Mo lets out a tired sigh and pours his energy into both boards at once. They break apart and reshape themselves to fit his purpose. Soon they become a wooden compass-like tool. The little fox is amazed he made such an old-style compass so quickly. Lin, he figures the Phoenix group won't be able to find the venerable demon on their own. The only chance is using this compass to track malignant energy. He fuses the two boards further, turning them into something like a radar. A loud blast goes off, making the fox yelp. The artifact grows much denser with energy after merging with a low-level stone. The fox is stunned by what it just saw. Then the spoon-like needle starts to move, and the little spirit realizes just how powerful its master is for making a simple board work like a radar. Lin Mo tells the fox to hold it, and the little spirit obeys. The fox asks what makes this compass special. Lin, the protagonist, explains that it finds the places in the city with the strongest yin energy. Suddenly, something catches his attention and startles him. He tells the little fox to hide, and it does so at once. Then he quietly watches the window. A moment later, the blonde girl appears with a weird look, leaving him confused. Her excited, odd expression makes him seriously uncomfortable. Phone in hand, he considers calling the police, but she tells him to open the window and not do anything weird. She apologizes, saying what she did was necessary. Lin Mo asks what she's doing there, and she brushes that off and demands to know where he was hurt. He realizes Yutang suspects him, but luckily his wounds haven't fully healed yet, so the cuts and scars are still visible. He shows her the injury on his arm and another on his leg. She immediately lifts his pant leg, exposing the smaller wound. Embarrassed, he asks what she's doing, but Yutang insists she's only cleaning the injuries. Otherwise, she says she'll be responsible if they leave scars. Privately, she thinks the guy who used to be chubby has the prettiest legs she's ever seen. The fox complains in his head. Mo offered her his arm, but she went straight for his legs like she was taking advantage of him. MC quickly pulls his pant leg down and says he never thought Zhao Yutong would come all this way over something so small. But she says that's not why she's here. Since he was one of the last people to see Yan Hui, she wants to know what Yan Hui told him. He admits that after meeting her, he can't remember anything. Zhao Yutong steps back toward the window and says this was pointless, so she's leaving. Mo can't help wondering why she won't just use the door. Still on guard, Lin the protagonist tells her to wait. Then he offers himself as bait if she wants his help. That instantly makes her blush, like she just noticed something she shouldn't have. What caught her eye was MC's chest showing through his shirt. She jumps off the balcony and says she'll take the offer, and he notices she agreed way too fast. The next morning, school starts. Mo walks into class like he owns the place. A group of girls rushes over, worried after hearing Yan Hui is abusive and asking what she did to him. The protagonist coldly says he's fine, then tells the guys blocking him to move. Then another girl runs in, calling everyone over because a super handsome transfer student just joined their class. The girls immediately hurry over to check him out. Once they reach the green-haired boy, they ask his name. He introduces himself as Shen Lixian and says since they're classmates now, they can call him Lele. Then a few blonde hairs catch his eye. The girls urge him to come with them to the main entrance, and he agrees without hesitation. Privately, he admits he transferred here to investigate Yan Hui's case, but he didn't expect to run into someone this pretty. Then he suddenly notices her foot braced against the door. A second later, she kicks so hard the door flies off its hinges. Right after that, she yells at her partner not to leave school grounds and not to step outside before she does. The green-haired boy is stunned and starts wondering if this beautiful girl might actually be insane. After school, as evening comes, Mo leaves the campus with that same over-the-top swagger. The blonde is waiting outside and orders Lin the 1100th to follow her. The two head down the quiet hallway together. She takes him to the school infirmary so they can talk in private. Mo says he's already healed, and if she tries touching his leg again, he'll have no choice but to fight back and hold her until the police come. She brushes that off and tells him to read a document instead. According to her, a police relative found a diary in Yan Hui's house about how to take care of him, an obvious lie. The protagonist has seen it before, but he's still caught off guard by how weird and disturbing some of the details are. Blushing, she says the diary talks about watching men and bringing them home, and Lin the 1100th was apparently one of them. He says he never expected Yan Hui to be such a pervert, and he should have realized sooner so he'd be ready if this happened. The blonde says they've searched all over the country and still found no trace of her, not even at her usual spots. Putting on his glasses, Mo says Yan Hui liked creepy places since she was little, so she's probably hiding somewhere like that. He adds that nobody found her because she likely used makeup as a disguise. He says it with a dramatic pose, and the girl tells him to stop acting like the school's great detective. Zhao Yutong realizes that actually makes sense. Yan Hui must be hiding behind a disguise. She also knows Yan Hui loves dark places, so she may have dragged plenty of boys there for her twisted rituals. After that, the girl says they're done talking for today and tells Mo to leave. The protagonist answers with a sly grin. Later, back at his house, he seems totally defenseless. He already fed Zhao Yutong the clues, and next she'll go on the darknet to buy a magic tool to track yin energy. Then MC calls for his little apprentice, who appears right away. He tells the fox to put the compass he made up for auction on the dark door. The fox gets it at once and starts typing at lightning speed. They set the starting bid at 10,000 cash and post it. A moment later, the fox tells his master it's live now, and all they can do is wait. Shinran notices the bidding is climbing way too fast, like everyone desperately wants the item. In no time, the price jumps from 10,000 to 5 million. At the same time, over at Zhao Yutong's house, she sees the bid hit 5 million almost instantly, and it still hasn't stopped rising. With a smug smile, she says these people love showing off their money, but they still can't outspend her. Watching the auction, Mo confirms Zhao Yutong is bidding like crazy. She'll probably win the compass, which means she'll be able to track down his ex. Then the price shoots all the way to 10 million. The little fox is stunned that it reached that amount in seconds and wonders how many married women carry that kind of money. A day later, the blonde meets with several women and an old woman carrying a cane. She says the compass points here as the place with the strongest yin energy. The old woman says this is a great treasure, something that can point out the strongest yin from hundreds of miles away, must be incredibly rare. The blonde notes that this expert was specially invited to help, and praise from her is hard to earn. The old woman draws a weapon from her cane and says she'll check the path ahead while the others wait. As she moves forward, a huge green demonic hand suddenly appears in front of her. She counters just in time with a special attack, and a massive explosion erupts. Watching through his paper doll, Mo can only tense up. He remembers there was no way to break that formation, so maybe she used some modern weapon from her ring. To him, this is completely new to this world, and he can't believe what he's seeing. Suddenly, his wall explodes inward as a huge muscular woman crashes in, carrying his cousin. Mo is shocked when he feels the strange green evil aura coming off her. The little fox cries out that this woman also broke the protagonist's linen. He cuts in, says he knows, and warns the fox not to move. He had already guessed this might happen because some lines just can't be crossed. It seems Yan Hui hypnotized them to kidnap him, but since the Phoenix group is still fighting, his ex probably wouldn't bother showing up herself. As a fist swings at him, the protagonist keeps in mind that there may be more going on here. This could be Yan Hui's trap, snatch him while also luring in the Phoenix group, so all he can do is wait for her to regret it, and luckily he uses his aura to protect himself and stay awake. The woman drags both cousins to a white van waiting outside. She throws them into the back with bags over their heads, rough and fast, then she drives off through the streets like nothing matters. Before long, she arrives at an abandoned factory, where Mo guesses his ex is hiding. She pulls the bag off his head. With a cruel look, she acts surprised it's him, though it's clearly fake. She asks if he's surprised to see her here again. Smirking, Lin Mo says yes and slips in an insult while he's at it. That arrogant answer makes her furious. She throws him into the wall and says he's got a lot of nerve talking to her like that. MC warns her not to come any closer. As she unbuttons her shirt, she mocks his act and asks whether Zhao Yutang or Han Xingyi took his virginity. Her demon warns that the blonde has already broken the formation and is coming fast, so Yan Hui needs to finish quickly. Grinning darkly, she agrees and says the Emperor is waiting for her next move. She tells Mo to stay put and wait. She'll come back after they've tested the Emperor. That makes him tense, wondering if the demonic sword or the venerable demon is talking to her from inside. Sometime later, in a dark, dripping cell, his cousin is somehow still sleeping peacefully. Then the cousin jolts awake, panicking and begging not to be killed or abused. Looking around in terror, he pleads for mercy and asks where he even is. Elsewhere, the group sees the crater left by the old woman after breaking the formation. Everyone gathers around the huge impact. The blonde realizes Yan Hui was smart. She used the formation to turn this place into a zone packed with yin energy. Now they have to follow the compass's next direction and hurry, because the people there may already be dead. A green demon appears, laughing and asking where the women think they're going. Then a huge blast erupts and sends everyone flying back. The fire-covered demon laughs and says everyone here is going to die. No conditions, no mercy. Elsewhere in the forest where the demon was summoned, something calmly feeding there suddenly senses it. The reaction startles it for a moment. Then a giant burst of green energy tears open the ground. Smoke spreads as that massive, terrifying aura fills the area. The demon summons a storm of blades and swears none of them are getting out alive. Laughing like a maniac, he sends the attack straight at the blonde and tells her to go to hell. As the blades rush in, the old woman steps in front of her. She takes the hit to protect the girl. The elder says she'll hold the demon off, while the others get Miss Zhao out. Her life is too important to lose to a phantom like this. The fiery spirit mocks her, asking if she really thinks she can beat him alone. He repeats that nobody here will survive, then starts forming seals with all his arms. Shouting wildly, he says he'll bury every one of them there with his formation. The seal slams down where the group is standing. The old woman instantly knows what it is, the soul devourer formation. She yells for everyone to cover their bodies with aura. One woman is too slow, and her body starts burning as she screams in pain. Her cries ring out while her skin and flesh melt away, and her life slips out with them. The blonde is horrified by the cruel sight in front of her. She pulls a special bow from her storage ring. Then she takes out an arrow made fully of aura, draws the string, and decides ranged attacks are her best shot here. Her target is the demon's face, and she fires. The aura arrow bending through the air on its own. It hits the demonic face dead on and blows up. Even then, the demon laughs it off and says it's nothing compared to his power. The elder explains the formation is draining their life force and magic so they can't really hurt him. A moment later, the spirit starts filling his mouth with something. It's a heavy dark smoke. Zhao Yutang realizes what's happening. The spirit is bringing the corpses back. One of her former allies starts moving again like a zombie. Then it suddenly lunges at her with shocking speed. Yutang reacts fast, pulls a sword from her storage ring, and cuts the zombified woman in half. The elder says she'll deal with the poison gas, and the girl needs to take down the blood puppets now. She also makes it clear that her companions can't be saved anymore. Yutang still sees regret on the faces of the friends she once knew, but she forces herself to strike the monster down. Another enemy comes at her, so she twists through the air to finish that one too. Then out of nowhere, she hears that corpse call her name. She freezes, unsure if her old friend has somehow come back, but it was only a trick in her mind. The monster attacks and rips into her abdomen with one blow. Blood spills from her mouth, and the pain snaps her back to reality. She tightens her grip on her weapon and hardens her resolve. With one X-shaped slash, she ends the fight. But the wound she took is awful. Blood pouring from her mouth and stomach, she drops to the ground. Her weapon fades into the air as she chokes on her own blood. She never expected this and starts wondering if those things were really blood puppets. In her mind, Yutang wonders if the old woman survived too, and blames herself for bringing so many people into this danger. Two controlled figures arrive and stare at her, and one of them pulls out a knife. The elder tries to call out to the blonde, but the spirit attacks at once, mocking her for losing focus. From behind the barrier, the demon sneers and says he wants to see how long the old woman's turtle shell can hold. Lying there, the blonde blames herself, realizing the elder got dragged into this because of her. The knife shoots toward her to finish the job, and all she can do is curse herself as blood sprays into the air. But the blade misses and hits the ground beside her. In the same instant, the attacker's head is cut off. A girl says she felt the blonde's life fading too fast, so she rushed over. It's Zhao Hongling, leader of the Phoenix group, and she says it's too soon for Yu Tang to die. Yu Tang recognizes her, while the man beside Hongling stares at the young-looking girl. Then his head suddenly flies off, and the blonde calls her grandma. The elder is stunned. Miss Hongling herself has appeared. The demon laughs, thinking this young girl is just backup sent to help. Insulted, he says she's only a mortal and could never fight a sword fragment like him. He even boasts that not even the emperor could beat him. That bragging ends fast when the childlike elder strikes and shuts him up. She breaks the formation made by the ghostly face. Seeing it all end in one hit, the blonde can only think how amazing her grandmother really is. The younger-looking elder tells her granddaughter that if she'd stepped in earlier, Yu Tang wouldn't be hurt this badly. Then she holds out some medicine and tells her to drink it. Yu Tang obeys and asks if her grandmother can find her missing companion. The elder says their real target is the protagonist. They have to save him. She tells her granddaughter not to worry because she already knows what's going on. Right now, she just needs to rest. Yu Tang is confused by that until her vision starts going blurry. As she drifts off, the younger elder calls to the older one, who answers right away. She asks where the companion Yu Tang mentioned might be. The old woman says that based on their guess, he should be somewhere packed with extreme yin energy. Sword in hand, the younger-looking elder says that's all she needed to hear. She says she can still track down the place with the strongest yin. Her sword starts floating as she tries to rise up, but she immediately slips and falls in a pretty ridiculous way. She quickly orders the others to take the blonde back to HQ for treatment, while the elder heads for the place with the densest yin energy. Then she dashes off toward that location, saying she'll see them later. Back at the abandoned factory, the protagonist is still being held captive. His demon-possessed ex starts carrying out a ritual. The fox beside him asks what she's doing. He explains that she's stealing yang energy from those men to grow stronger, and the cost is her own aging. Suddenly, a huge burst of energy makes her stop. She demands to know who's interrupting her now. Outside, Yu Tang's grandmother has arrived. She opens the door slowly, wearing a dark, angry look. The ex asks what a little girl is doing there, and whether she's hurt or lost. The young-looking elder calls her auntie and says that little bastard is inside. That comment leaves the protagonist's ex totally confused. Inside, the little fox asks if it's okay to knock him out again the second he wakes up, but the protagonist says not to worry, he's tough. Then a huge explosion shakes the place and startles him. Something comes flying in from the doorway and slams into the wall. It's his ex, pinned there by the little girl's giant sword. Floating in the air, the girl says they're only getting started, so Yanhui shouldn't complain. Sitting on the sword, the little girl taunts the older woman, and the ex, caught off guard, asks her to at least fight seriously. Green energy covers her hands as she pulls the sword out of her chest. She rips it free, swears, and throws it upward. The little girl just hovers there, watching with amusement. The ex hurls the sword back and screams for the brat to go to hell. The attack is fierce and insanely strong. Even so, the wound in her chest throbs badly. She starts wondering who this brat really is. Perched on the sword, the young-looking girl asks if that's all, because the fight already seems almost over. The ex turns to her demon and asks what she should do, admitting she's no match for this girl. But when the demon doesn't answer, she only gets more confused. Then the story cuts to a day earlier. Inside an unknown house, the protagonist's board game partner is staring at her past self. Both of them look uneasy about the strange link between them. At last, the girl sighs and says she's nervous because this is the start of the 146th game. But then something suddenly explodes inside her mind and grabs her attention. It's the powerful aura of a demonic sword. Far away, a lonely cabin sits deep in the forest. A boy trapped in the demon's grip screams to be let go. He asks if the creature even knows who he is. Then he reveals he's from the celestial demonic sect. The demon isn't impressed and says he already knew the boy belonged to that sect. He adds that a sect that full of people would be easy for him to slaughter. Tears filling his eyes, the boy realizes how terrifying this aura is and cries out for help. Right then, a massive blast tears through the entrance to the demon's hideout. Dust pours through the now open doorway. A woman steps inside. She stomps down with a force that feels like a warning. The spirit senses at once that this aura is different. Someone special has arrived. The figure before him is the mistress he's been waiting for. With tears running down his flushed face, he starts yelling for her and rushes over. She stops him with her foot and tells him to quit making a scene, and he immediately obeys. The girl identifies him as the demon working with Hui. He confirms it, then happily says that familiar feeling of being stepped on proves she really is his mistress. Then she hears someone begging for help. It's the same boy, saying he's the son of the patriarch of the celestial demonic sect, and if she saves him, he'll do anything she wants. He adds that his sect focuses on demonic cultivation and is no weaker than the Phoenix group. That seems to catch her interest, and she walks over. Sitting on the demon, she says she doesn't need men. She needs dogs that obey. She tells the flame spirit to keep the boy alive since he's a useful kid, and the spirit agrees. The green-haired boy thanks her for letting him live. Then, with a blank look, he says that since she spared him, he'll serve as her slave. A second later, he dozes off. That sets the demon off, and it calls him a stupid brat for disrespecting its mistress. The spirit then says it plans to use Hei as a host so it can recover its power. Right now, the demon is hiding in an abandoned factory, and at this rate, it should be back to full strength in under 10 days. She asks if Happy is fully under his control, and he says yes, calling her easy to manipulate because of her desires. The young woman says the plan isn't great, but it'll do for now. More importantly, she needs to find Linmo. In the end, Happy says one game still isn't finished, so she can't let anything happen to her other challenger. The demon agrees. The spirit urges its mistress to gather the fragments fast, warning that things are getting worse by the second. She says there's no need to rush though, because the Emperor is in this world too. That leaves the demon stunned. She explains that the demonic sword fragments don't share memories with each other, but a while back she felt the aura of one fragment. Just as she was about to reach it, the sword's key was wiped out by a stronger one. Power she'd only ever felt from the Emperor in the last 1,000 years. The demon thinks about using He as bait to draw out the Emperor, then tells her to go kill that brat. She asks how she's supposed to kill the girl when she's never fought a real battle since childhood and knows nothing about martial arts. So even the younger-looking girl brings out her secret sword art. The girl admits she doesn't even know how to fight, so the demon calls her useless and takes over her body. Her pupils change into something strange. She says the old woman is worthless and doesn't deserve to live another second. Laughing darkly, the spirit rushes at the younger girl while using her body. All at once, a sword shoots toward its back, while it keeps that weird grin. The spirit knocks the blade away with a sidekick. Still laughing, it catches the sword and says it's his now to use however he wants. After tossing the blade, he mocks the grandma for liking flying swords. Then he throws the second sword back, saying he's just returning it, since she loves these little games so much. The small girl blocks it with a purple spirit barrier and sends the attack off course. The demon pulls out an artifact and says he's giving her a second gift. It's a huge viper that lunges at the small grandma in an instant. She looks impressed and says it's a lost secret art, but its power is far weaker than the books claimed. As the snake gets ready to strike, the girl says Yanhui. Being angry makes her easier to handle. With sword in hand, she adds that if Yanhui didn't cry all the time, she'd at least feel bad for killing her all at once. But because she's so weak, the snake bites down and takes a clean slash right through its mouth. Her strike splits it apart and sends its head flying. Then the huge blast building in the serpent's mouth shoots up into the sky. Its body starts breaking apart as the technique is completely destroyed. In the sky above, someone is watching the whole fight. It's the protagonist's board game companion, observing everything in her demonic form. The ex-girlfriend's face twists as the spirit leaves her body and mind. Purple energy pours out of her and gathers into one point. It becomes a fragment of the demon girl's lost sword. The younger-looking elder says it finally gave up on its host after realizing she was useless. She says she never expected it to be a sword, let alone just a broken one, and sounds disappointed, but her mood changes fast when the sword seems offended by that. The protagonist's companion says it's shameless to kick a dog when its owner isn't around, and warns the sword to be careful. Sweating, the girl recognizes that key as the power of a high-level underworld demon. Her breathing turns uneven as the pressure crashes down on her. She slowly turns and can barely catch her breath, nearly choking from the gap in power. All she can do is tremble as she looks up at the girl above her. The horned girl mocks her for daring to stare so boldly. Then, in a flash, the demon woman vanishes from above. With sword in hand, she says no wonder the fragment was hard to find. Its aura was being suppressed by that older-looking girl. The elder tries to use her purple power to block the attack and bring the demon girl down. She casts the 8th-level Taoist sealing art, and pink bands wrap around the demon woman's face and body. Even through those bands, her threatening stare is still clear, the look of someone far beyond a technique like this. As the spell nears completion, the bands deepen into a dark orange. The nails drive into the ground, locking the sealing technique in place. Using the power of the body she's possessing, the elder borrows the 10,000 talismans of the 8 directions. She starts another evil-suppressing seal with those 10,000 talismans. Even so, pink energy keeps leaking from the giant seal. Still on edge, she adds 4 celestial flames to strengthen it. Then she calls on the red lotus seal of the infernal sky to reinforce the spell. She finishes the seal and shuts the demon woman in completely. After that, she begins a higher vow with the wall of equality meant to make all demons fear and hide. She decides to combine everything into one final move. The energy even forms a Buddha with its hands pressed in prayer, tears falling down. Then a crack suddenly appears and spreads fast. The giant statue starts breaking apart under the power trapped inside. This is the last thing she expected. It shouldn't be possible. A bright red light begins shining from the figure. She remembers hearing that Hongling was the strongest fighter, and now, after seeing the so-called strongest power, she decides it's time to stop this brat's game. Even though she's nervous, she insists it still isn't over. But the strange woman is already beside her, asking what exactly isn't over. That's when the girl realizes her stomach has been sliced open without her even noticing. The demon woman tells her that when she says it's over, it's over. She walks on as the short redhead drops to the ground. She heads back toward her master, saying that body can't even use a tiny part of her real power. Cold with blood loss, the taller woman struggles to reach for something. She needs her sword if she wants even one more chance to act. By now, she should have realized it. Even with her here, it still hasn't shown up. The curvy companion glances back and sees the blade flying toward her. She doesn't care, she just gets ready to knock it away with her own sword. The metal gives way like butter against her blade. She had wanted to use Yutang to figure out what they were planning, but sadly she's useless, not even worth testing. That easy win makes her sigh in mild annoyance. Then she calls out for the immortal emperor. She's seen enough, she says, so he can stop hiding and come out. She taunts him, saying maybe he's turned into one of this world's cowardly men. A strongest man this weak can't rule anything. If that's true, it's just pathetic. Starting with this taller woman, she shouts again so everyone hiding can hear. If no one stops her now, she'll send them all on a one-way trip to see what comes after death. As she starts counting down, she warns that anyone planning to step in had better hurry. She's only counting to 3. One woman covers her own mouth to keep from speaking. The young man stays inside his cage and does nothing. The demon woman begins her count. A drop of water lands on the boy's head, and he still seems clueless. Then he finally starts paying attention. By then, 2 seconds of her countdown are already gone. A desperate voice suddenly begs not to be sent to the world of regret. On the ground, the small figure writhes in pain. The silver-haired woman still keeps her mouth covered. Meanwhile, the demon woman clearly enjoys their reaction, but no one moves. So the countdown ends, and a huge pillar of energy blasts into the sky. The whole area becomes the center of a massive surge of power. A powerful vortex forms in front of her. The light is so bright, people have to shield their eyes. At last, the one she was waiting for appears. That makes her smile. She's sure now the immortal emperor is still alive. Far away, someone asks what happened to the sky. Looking ahead, they point out a pillar of light over the abandoned factory. Even in the cold, the area around it is so hot it pushes the rain away. Worried, he snatches the phone from the person filming. He shows how the beam cleared the clouds and guesses it might be some kind of satellite ray. Then he spots something coming down through the clouds. Somewhere else, another person is watching the live stream. She gets annoyed when the signal cuts out right as the beam appears. At home, someone asks if she's done her homework since she's always on her phone. She says it's already finished. Hungxi is far from where she is, and that's where Lin Mo is staying right now. First the search for Yan Hui, and now this light beam. It's been a long day. As she opens the door, the emperor appears, dragging the demoness by the head. Even after they're gone, strong wind keeps sweeping through the place. The air finally calms, but the window has been shattered. The girl has no clue what just happened. They just tore straight through the whole building. The demoness mocks him, saying that without the sacred sword, he's like an old man without his medicine. Totally useless. As she lands another hit, she says he's nothing but a punching bag now. The blow slams him into the ground and wrecks the nearby buildings. Still not satisfied, she starts pulling aura into her palms. She's getting ready to unleash a huge attack. While charging it up, she starts reciting a spell. The dark energy shoots into the sky like a blade. Then a strange shape begins forming overhead. In the clouds, it looks like a giant set of eyes. A huge serpent-like creature finally takes shape. As it opens its giant mouth, it fires a beam straight at the immortal emperor. From above, she's stunned that he didn't dodge. But that shock doesn't last long because she quickly sees the attack failed. He's completely unharmed. She never expected his protective seal to be this strong, and it drives her crazy. He already knew demon kings were heartless, but their children are even worse, treating innocent lives like nothing. Looking at her, he can tell she's exactly like her bloodline. Like father, like daughter. That sets her off. She says he has no right to meddle in her family's business. The serpent answers by aiming a massive strike at the city. She doesn't care about the people below. In her eyes, they live only if the emperor dies. The serpent pulls in more power and shuts its jaws. Then it blasts the ground with a non-stop beam. The attack cuts across the whole city in one straight line. Everything in its path is wiped out, and the flames keep burning. Above it all, the demon queen watches with clear satisfaction. She's glad to see the emperor's defense finally cracking, and now she wants to see what he'll do next. He gathers power into 2 fingers, then he moves them with careful control, catching her off guard. The motion feels familiar, and she knows it at once. It's a sword art, and by the time she realizes that, the serpent has already been hit. When she looks back, she sees the creature has taken serious damage. At last, the emperor is holding a sword again. Now it's in his hands, a fine embryo, and worth every second of waiting. She figures out he's secretly placed a charm on the sword, forcing her to expose her weakness. Still, that trick only matters if he can actually use the junk he's holding. He traces a circle with the sword, setting up another technique, then he brings it down in a slash. It's the secret art refinement of the divine flame. She almost enjoys it. He always finds a new way to surprise her. Their powers crash together with brutal force. A second later, both of them are clashing through the sky at insane speed. Reacting fast, the demon queen slips in and catches him by surprise. After a flurry of blows, she finally lands a slash on him. Even then, he smiles, because he finally arrived, only a little later than the sword. The figure standing in for him disappears, and beams of light burst out of it. She realizes that burned figure was just a clone, but whatever passed through it is still a mystery. Then a tiny paper doll appears in front of her, full of holes. At the same time, 2 fighter jets rush in and open fire. She assumes this is part of the Emperor's plan too. But modern weapons carry no aura, they're only fast bullets. Not impressed at all, she swings her sword and mocks their courage. Even so, one jet slips past the aura strike. It fires a missile at her. To her, though, that attack is way too slow. Then the missile suddenly adjusts its path. That catches the Demon Queen off guard, and a huge explosion swallows her. With the target locked, the jets keep pressing the attack. Missile after missile slams into her position. Everything is unfolding just as he planned, but he knows modern weapons can only stall her for less than a minute. Without his real sword, he can't beat her, so he needs a weapon on the same level as his sacred blade. The forging was finished during the fight. Now there's only one last vital step. He lets out a breath. It is time to cool the blade. Meanwhile, the jets are almost out of fuel and start preparing to head back. Suddenly, the ground in the city erupts. A huge formless hand reaches up into the sky. It grabs one of the planes, and over the radio, the pilot warns everyone else to get out fast. The second plane tries to dodge, but the hand smashes it, using the first plane like a club. Then a giant eyeless monster rises, roaring in rage. It's so massive the nearby buildings look tiny next to it. From above, the Demon Queen declares this is the price for getting involved in her battle. Now they all die. Someone tells her the beast is a wandering mass of spiritual energy, the perfect chance to kill the Emperor before he finishes his plan. But then something above catches her eye. Her attention shifts at once. A little boy is crying and calling for his father. As he sobs, he says he's scared. While he keeps shouting for his dad, one of the monster's claws moves toward him. It's just a second away from crushing him flat. The Demon Queen keeps watching. The boy goes on crying, not knowing he's about to be smashed. That sight makes her shut her eyes and remember something. She sees herself as a child too, searching for her own father. The city is already in chaos, with every exit blocked. Stuck in traffic, a man keeps calling and gets no answer. He complains that his wife never picks up, even when it matters. Sadly, the phones have no signal. Then the news reports that the monster in the city center has suddenly disappeared. Inside the car, the man starts worrying about the rain falling outside. His daughter points out that there wasn't supposed to be rain today. Near the bridge, a huge cyclone starts pulling water into itself. Some people even get out of their cars to film it, ignoring how dangerous it is. At the heart of that cyclone is the Emperor's burning sword. He's controlling the water himself. That's how he's cooling the blade. The power tightens and bursts out in a shockwave that sends waves racing through the water. The surge drags cars on the bridge away and probably takes those idiots filming with it. After that, a heavy mist covers the area. The girl gets out of the car even though her father tells her to stay put. She stares toward the river and can't believe it. All the water below is gone, like the whole river was drained. High in the air, the Emperor stands before his sword. He reaches for the hilt. The second his hand touches it, a brilliant flash erupts. Even through the mist, that light can be seen. The burst is so strong it blows the fog away at once. Now the blade he forged is ready to strike. He looks at what all that effort created. He waited a long time for this. From the mist, the Demon Queen says he's been acting dumb while holding a child's hand. She says she wasn't standing there waiting for him. The little boy smiles. He finally found his useless father. As they hug, the Demon Queen tells the man to leave because it isn't safe there. She hates dragging fights out, so she'll finish this fast, just like in her past life. The Emperor says he agrees. She lifts her sword over her head and starts chanting for a powerful barrier spell. Not backing down, the Emperor calls forth his own entity, shining with sacred colors. She swings first and sends out a dark strike. The Emperor answers with a blast, like something from a shonen hero. Their attacks slam together high in the sky. This is exactly what she wanted, and now that he has his sword, he has no excuses if he loses. Placing his fingers before his face, the Emperor begins to pray. Marks spread across his face, and the sword he forged breaks apart. Seeing that, the Demon Queen realizes he's using a forbidden sword art. It's the same move he used before, and she knows she should have prepared her demonic sword right now. It can't stand against this. Unable to resist, she takes the hit. A huge beam of light keeps pushing straight at her. Then a strange rift starts to open in the sky, slowly revealing another dimension. The force is so great that the sky itself is splitting apart. Broken and worn out, she admits it's too much. The Emperor stands in front of her, watching carefully. He tells her the winner is already decided, but a voice cuts in, saying the fight is only starting. Badly hurt, the Demon Queen looks up and says what she's seeing. The other half of the magic sword. The sword speaks, saying it hit itself well while gathering its missing pieces, and many of those pieces were with her. Even hurt, she says that fake sword still can't deal her a killing blow. She'll heal soon, and unlike him, she still has a magic sword. Even if it's an ugly win, a winner has already been decided. Then the sword suddenly stabs through her from behind, bursting out of her chest. It says it won't obey someone whose energy is this weak. Now both of them will die here. The cursed sword wants to start with the weaker one first, telling her to go back home to hell. It rushes in. It slams down where the Demon Queen should have been. But something's off. There's no blood, just concrete. The sword sneers that the Emperor played hero and saved the damsel, but calls him an idiot for it. Barely staying upright, the Demon Queen tells him to put her down. She never agreed to this. To her, being saved by the Emperor is worse than getting cut by the cursed sword, and more annoying than being a bald woman. He tells her to stop being stubborn and save her strength if she doesn't want to die on the spot. He has a plan, but he needs her help. The sword has turned into a huge monster, and like a nosy gossip, it demands to know what they're whispering about. That only makes it matter, it wants in on the gossip too. With his eyes shut, the Emperor starts another spell. It's the Prison of Light, and beams of energy rain down from above. They hit the sword monster and pin it to the ground. The creature is shocked. Not only is it trapped, now it still can't hear what they were talking about right in front of it. This prison can only be broken by yang energy. A mighty sword like that should be able to use some. Or maybe it can't because this new world doesn't suit it. That taunt makes the sword so furious that if it had a normal brain it would have exploded. Instead it powers up and tears free of the prison, showing off its bulky form. It boasts that it's not scared of needles or labs, underground flexes, and asks if the Emperor still dares disrespect a body with only 3% body fat. Drawing back a massive punch, it says he has almost nothing left, and he's carrying a dying horse in his arms. Humiliated, it swears to drag both of them down to hell. Still holding her, the Emperor snaps his fingers. A hit lands right where the monster sword's core should be. A deadly blow. Stunned by the damage, it can't figure out how he pulled it off. Then it realizes that after collecting every fragment, one piece had to be inside this new body too. The Emperor had refined that fragment and turned it into bait. It was meant for the Demon Queen, but he saved it for the sword instead. Panic sets in, as its yang energy drains away. Its strong body shrivels, and its veins run dry. Now it's the Demon Queen's turn, and to the sword's horror, she starts sucking away its power. The sword thins out, weak and fragile again. Desperate, it tries to cling to the body it just lost. A crack spreads across its blade, and it curses both of them. She was right. The sword's sealed yang power is still inside him. Now they can finally settle things. Then a giant tongue drops down in front of them. It's the Beast of Chaos, and the sword lights up. Sure, the gods still haven't abandoned it. Delighted, it mockingly wishes them luck against this monster. She turns to the Emperor and says her part is done. Now she wants to know what comes next. He lifts his eyes to the sky. The next step is fixing the crack above them. But she's a demon. She knows how to destroy, not repair. He lets her go and says he'll handle it himself. He only asks her to keep the promise she made. Facing the rift, he presses his hands together, and his eyes shine. When he opens his palms, a small ball of power forms between them. He sends it at the creature and orders it back to the other side. Then he commands the rift to close, forcing the beast back. At once, the crack in the sky starts sealing shut. Watching this, the demoness is clearly impressed. But with blood in his mouth, he says it isn't that easy. He coughs, completely spent. That move used up every last bit of his energy. Suddenly, a hand grabs him before the rift can pull him in. The demoness calls out to him, "Just hold on a little longer." Demons are supposed to grow stronger by taking lives, yet after all her killing she never did. She realizes it was all meant to provoke him, then bring those people back. That thought makes her blush for reasons she can't explain. Trusting her, he says he'll handle the rift and leave the rest to her. He believes she'd keep her word, and now she's proving it by saving him. With half his body already inside, she struggles to pull him back. She tells him the rift is closing, but he still isn't moving. As the worst starts to sink in, she calls to him again. Calmly, he points out that even knowing everyone would come back, she still saved that little kid. The words hit her at once. She's completely thrown off. He says something else, but she can't hear it. Then the rift shuts for good with him left on the other side. Rage fills her as she realizes she still wasn't strong enough. Then she notices something strange nearby. A tiny flame doll is sitting in her hand. At sunset, she sits alone on a rooftop. Quietly, she studies what the Emperor left behind. It draws a long sigh from her, heavy with disappointment. She raises a hand and gathers a huge mass of energy. From that giant sphere, beams fire out across the city. The bright light shines over her face. As the sphere shrinks, the glow fades with it. When it's over, she coughs hard, badly weakened. Bringing back one person costs 100 years of cultivation, and she revived far more than one. At last, she's kept every promise. Then the doll starts breaking apart in the sky. As she watches it go, she thinks of the immortal Emperor, especially that moment when she was dying in his arms. For some reason, remembering what he told her makes her cheeks warm. She can't get that gray-haired figure out of her head. His face is all she can think about. Now she remembers him with a kind of softness she didn't have before. Elsewhere, the woman lies asleep in bed. In her dream, she tells herself the red-eyed woman is a demon, someone nobody should mess with. The demon places a sword in her hands and orders her to kill an immortal spy who has already slain many of their kind, but she's only a child. The adult pushes her to finish it quickly. Her hands shake with fear and doubt. Losing patience, the adult shoves her forward. The blade sinks into the prisoner's stomach, and it's too much for a child like her to bear. The adult warns that this softness is weakness, and one day it will come back to hurt her. Slowly, the dream changes. Now it seems she's the one who needs to rethink everything. Her gaze shifts to another memory. The immortal Emperor is being dragged into the rift. She wants him to stop talking and fight harder to survive. Instead, he brings up the lost child she saved. Those words tear at her, and she begs him to stop, but he only answers with a faint smile. He knew she wasn't good, yet he also saw she wasn't completely evil. After that painful dream, she jolts awake. Her hands grip the sheets as she tries to steady herself. At a large table, a shadowy woman reports on the last week's events. The two of them fought, wrecked half the city, and even split open the sky. In the end, some unknown power revived the dead, but no one can count on that happening again. One person says that if they're trusting these fools, they might as well sit and wait to die. Yang Yao Qianjun asks what else they can even do. No one has an answer. Saint Gyatso can barely believe a sword strike could tear open the sky and create a rift. The sword saint is embarrassed, hearing that since she knows no technique like it. Li Shinran tells her not to take it personally. Even a mortal shouldn't be able to cut a hole in the sky. The man obsessed with body changes adds that old man Zhao died in one hit, so the rest of them wouldn't stand a chance either. Yutang, clearly annoyed, asks her grandmother if everyone came here just to whine. Bai Weiyun tells Yutang to mind her manners, and says she already spoke with another elder about a plan. Since ancient times, her clan has guarded the oracles, the hands of the divine path, keepers of order who defend the righteous way and remove heretics. This time, the oracle left a strange message. Drink this tear and do what is right. It was sealed with special effects. The blonde asks what that tear has to do with any of them. Her grandmother reminds Yutang that when she reached the temple, she was so badly hurt she should have died, which makes Yutang ask how she's still alive. The seal broke and what was inside merged with her. Now she is the Heaven's Daughter of Destiny. That makes her their trump card, so they need to help Yutang cultivate. One elder suggests pairing her with a man from his clan to boost that growth, but the shadowed woman says it has to be someone with a pure yang body, which shocks Yutang because they're treating this seriously. Then they add that a man with that kind of energy should be naturally handsome, so they'll need the best-looking one, which annoys her even more. The Pierce guy says he also needs to be young, since a big age gap would ruin it, so they should search in schools. That's why a beauty contest is already being set up. Hearing that, Yutang gets mad that nobody even asked what she wanted. Now the red-eyed girl hears about this plan too. They want Yutang's cultivation doubled, so there will be a student beauty contest, and he's been added to the list of possible picks. She wants him to win, since that would get them closer to the Phoenix Group and the Daughter of Destiny. She also hears there was more discussed in that meeting, and she wants every detail. They're planning to use everything they have to find the Emperor and His Majesty. After hearing that, she lets the man go. A week has passed, but her aura still hasn't recovered. This body is weak, and her last revival damaged her foundation. Even if this world isn't that dangerous, things are getting messy. There's a rebellion, and both the Emperor's side and the Demon Sword are enemies. For now, she'll stay hidden as Han Xinyi. Once she recovers, she'll go after the sword first. She says she'll keep the pot, and the man tells her to move to the next counter. Then he asks if she likes monarchs, which makes her blush. A little fox-eared girl greets her master. She asks if he's okay, but the young man is deep in meditation. Still, he had told her to watch Yutang with a paper doll, so she reports what happened at the meeting. She didn't catch everything, but she did hear about the beauty contest and their plan to double Yutang's cultivation to face the Demon Queen. She also says they're searching for her master and the demon, so he sends her away and keeps focusing. Using forbidden techniques wrecked his mortal body, leaving him almost powerless, so Lin Mo has to stay unnoticed for now. He places a piece on the board with perfect control. His opponent has lost to him again. She admits it, but tells herself she only let him win because he got kidnapped because of her. A mortal could never really beat her. She remembers promising him one wish if he won, expecting something ordinary like asking her out. Instead, he says that would be boring, and they can talk about it some other time. Then he says she didn't play well today, looks sleepy, and should have washed her face before school. That sets her off. She tried being nice to this mortal, and all it did was make him cockier. She swears he'll never beat her again. A young woman greets Lin Mo and says she hasn't seen him all day. She brings up the beauty contest and says she and her sister would have voted for him, but he's not on the list. He says it sounds annoying and he has no interest in joining. She can't believe someone that full of himself would call a contest like that boring, so she assumes he's just playing hard to get. Because of that, she decides to sign him up herself. Setting up a school contest like this turned out to be way too easy. Right now, first place was some stinky glasses-wearing nerd, and she refused to end up with a clown like that. Then she found Lin Mo on the list. She pulled up her phone and called her friends over to look. It was a video of Shen playing guitar, and his charm had the girls losing their minds. Still, she called them animals while staring at Lin, the protagonist herself. One friend wisely pointed out that she was talking big for someone who had already liked and saved the clip. She'd even downloaded it to watch later by herself, which made it even more suspicious. Trying to cover for herself, she said they were only classmates and she just felt a little bad for him. Her friend instantly teased that she obviously wanted to end up in bed with Lin Mo. She yelled back that of course she would. He was handsome, fit, and blessed, so what was the problem? A couple of jealous guys called her shallow, though they clearly wished they were getting that kind of attention. One of them swore he'd win the contest by spending 8 hours a day fixing his photos, but Lin Mo had already passed him, and even worse, first place still belonged to that ridiculous clown who looked like a pet store mascot. He insisted he'd try harder, but his friend told him to be real, he barely had a chance. Then someone said the great Shen Ladian had arrived. The pretty androgynous boy with bad eyesight walked through the hall while people kept bothering him. After that, he said he was done for the day because he wanted to speak with Yutang alone. She doubted he even knew why this contest was really happening, but she still wanted to hear him out. Using a different voice, he thanked everyone and said he hoped they would keep supporting him. Yetang caught the change right away. He came over with cookies he made for her, and when he asked her to try one, his voice shifted again. She refused on the spot, saying she wouldn't eat anything made by that clown. He looked like he never washed his hands. Yetang walked off calling him gross, but she also noticed the divine demon's voice trick didn't work on her. Maybe that was because she was the daughter of destiny. Either way, Yetang was seriously annoyed and totally disgusted by the glasses guy. She knew he was a cultivator using a cheap trick to attract girls, and she wanted no part of it. Still, since he was already on her grandmother's list, she might not be able to expose who he really was. Later, while she sat at a table, her friend told her Lin Mo had shown up. Seeing him alone was rare. Shen had been stealing all the attention lately, and Yutang had almost forgotten Lin. The 1,100th was in second place. Her friend told her to go talk to him, and Yutang instantly turned red. She was so flustered she hadn't even considered doing that. After all, they were just friends. Nothing else, but when she tried to say it, the words wouldn't come out. She remembered him lightly punching her side. They were just a pair of friends, but her memories weren't helping that argument. Her mind jumped to his open shirt and the chest she had seen before. Her friend asked again, not hearing clearly whether they were only classmates. The nosebleed made her answer way less convincing. Overwhelmed by her own feelings, she rushed out of the cafeteria. Yutang moved down the hall, lost in her messy thoughts. A few boys were about to approach her, but all she could think about was getting better photos of Lin Mo. Without them, beating Shen's voice trick would be hard. She could get the best photographers in the city, and she was sure he wouldn't turn that down. But the second she offered, he rejected her. He even told her that if she had that much free time, she should get a part-time job. On top of that, he said she was bothering him and should annoy someone else. The real reason was simpler. Lin Mo felt awful and needed every spare moment to cultivate. What he told her instead was that he'd been kidnapped recently and didn't trust girls right now. That excuse sounded fair enough, so she accepted it. At the gym, she unloaded all her strength on a punching bag. The more she thought about it, the more she blamed herself, because she promised to protect him. She told him everything would be okay. Now it felt like those words had been a lie. No wonder he didn't trust her anymore, and being unable to fix it made her furious. Then she suddenly broke down crying. The thought of marrying that disgusting half-blind guy felt worse than death. A moment later, anger took over again, and she went back to pounding the bag. A muscular woman with a rough face asked why the gym was empty, and the worker said Yutang had rented the whole place for herself. Since arriving, she'd taken off her shirt and been hammering the punching bag non-stop. The woman heard that a rich student had booked the gym and decided this might be a good chance to fight someone. The worker warned her it was a bad idea. This little girl was angry at the whole world. She didn't care and even said they could refund the girl if needed. Walking up, she said Yutang wasn't weak, just lacking stamina. Then she introduced herself as the gym's personal trainer, Hayu Ne. Yutang told her to get lost or she'd beat her up. With a smug look, the juice-sipping woman mocked her. If she didn't follow through, she'd be a coward. Soon, people outside watched a body come flying out of the first-floor window. Then the blonde jumped out after her, ready to keep her promise and finish the fight. Nobody knew what started it, but it looked like a one-sided beating. Once her mask fell off, the woman begged the young cultivator to spare her. Yutang pulled the mask away and asked why she had been wearing it. The woman had a scar on her face, and the blonde said it changed nothing. People mocked her either way. Even so, Yutang said they still had unfinished business, and she still planned to beat her like promised. The woman warned that if Yutang touched her again, she'd end up at the bottom of the water with cement on her feet. Then a police officer finally showed up after getting a call about a crime in progress. The moment he saw the scarred woman, he recognized her as a wanted pervert with a bounty. She had even abused an 80-year-old man. Just like that, the blonde went from villain to hero in the blink of an eye. The crowd apologized, and she also got the reward money for catching the fugitive. As if that wasn't enough, reporters even interviewed her for the heroic act. The next day, she was back in the cafeteria, feeling just like before. Her friend thought Zhao Yutang had called over the red-haired girl to talk about the fugitive incident, but that wasn't the reason. Whenever Yutang went out alone, she either made money or met handsome guys, and her grandma kept saying she needed a partner soon. So now she wanted to know if that same luck could help her catch Lin Mo. The redhead said Lin, the protagonist, was cold and hard to read, and maybe Yutang should just date Shen instead. That made the other girls start coughing from shock. Yutang said she only wanted details. What he liked, what he hated, his routine, blood type, address, nothing too extreme. It turned out Lin, the 1,100th, and the red-haired girl were extremely close, almost like siblings. So if Yutang wanted information, she'd better start paying. Nothing came free. That bold answer made the blonde grin. She offered 500,000 yuan for useful info. But if it was nonsense, the redhead cut her off and said her word was enough. Then she pulled something from her bra and said there was no going back now. It was a stack of notes she'd been collecting about his habits and interests. Now the blonde had a mountain of material to sort through. Still, there was one thing she could confirm right away. Every lunch break, Lin Mo got his food and vanished instead of eating in the cafeteria. The blonde had already noticed that much herself. Then a friend added that he played chess with a girl on the terrace every day. The second she heard it was a girl, jealousy hit, and she demanded to know who had that much nerve. Pointing toward the food line, her friend said the girl was right there. So the blonde turned to look. She'd never heard of anyone playing chess at school. It was the red-eyed girl, Han Xin-yi. That shocked the blonde even more. She hadn't expected her at all. Then another thought suddenly hit her. She kept saying she was doomed, over and over. Because of one stupid game, she'd been ignoring her friend's safety. Her friend warned that Han Xin-yi was a serious rival, but the blonde insisted they were friends, or at least they used to be. On the terrace, she said he had finally arrived. Linmo pointed out the weather was bad and there were plenty of empty rooms inside, so they didn't need to stay out there. But she said their match began on the terrace, so it would end on the terrace too. She asked if he was scared. He brushed it off and reminded her the forecast called for rain and snow. He said he was just worried a certain girl might get soaked and then attack him with those very generous arms and assets. He also brought up being kidnapped and not trusting girls lately, so she tossed him her coat and said that way she wouldn't need to apologize if he got cold in the rain. Linmo looked down at the coat in his hands. Meanwhile, the girl flushed and tried to act normal. He stayed cautious, thinking it over. She turned her face away, a little annoyed. Since he still wasn't putting it on, she told him to hurry up so he couldn't blame her later, when he lost. Linmo said he only came to get revenge for yesterday's loss. Next time the weather was bad, he wouldn't meet on the terrace. As for her, she said she just didn't want anyone getting the wrong idea. He remarked that the sleeves were short though the coat wasn't tight. She proudly answered that her bust size was 36. Then he calmly asked what that number meant, and she instantly got embarrassed. This wasn't the time to dwell on that, the rain was coming. Then the rain started, and the girl was still red with embarrassment. She snapped that his mouth was cursed and the rain was his fault, but he reminded her he'd only repeated the forecast. That was enough for him, so he said he was leaving. The second he turned away, she called out for Linmo to stop. He reminded her she'd lost and should go wash her face before coming back. She did, and now they were standing in the rain. Today they were going to play, no matter what. Trying to sound casual, she asked for a match because she had to beat him today. His expression only made her more annoyed. Fed up, she told him to just go home if he didn't want to play. Standing in the rain with her clothes turning see-through, she grew more upset with Linmo. After letting that out, she stole a glance at him. To her surprise, he agreed, but only for one game. Then it was his move. Realizing they were really about to play, her mood lifted. Then she pointed out that it was actually her turn. She'd always been so strong that people feared her, and because of that, she never had real friends or anyone she could trust. She was raised to become the queen of demons, to lead, to slaughter, and to live without caring for anyone. But in this world, she found someone who accepted her sudden invitations, someone who was willing to do the things she liked. With her, for the first time, something this simple made her happy. Then he sneezed, and the little girl quickly asked if her master was okay. He said he was fine and asked how the Dark Gate was doing. Everything was under control. She had released all the sounds he gave her, and 8 were already sold. That would give her compasses to track yin energy, so the demonic sword wouldn't act up as much. He told her to hide anything tied to cultivation at home until the broken wall was fixed. Then, all of a sudden, a woman showed up. She called his name. She demanded to know what he'd done to Yu Tang, since she'd sent gifts and said she wanted to see him. Linmo said he'd done nothing, and next time she should knock. Then she said there were guests downstairs and wanted him to come greet them, but he brushed it off and said he needed a bath. That irritated her. Yu Tang was clearly chasing him, and he still ignored her, even though a marriage with her would be great for the family. She went back and told the blonde to wait because Lin, the protagonist, was bathing to look even more handsome. The woman added that she, her husband, and her son had to leave, so the blonde could stay with Linmo. The girl quickly said she only came to tell him something, and would leave right after. She called for her husband and said they'd be back the next day after lunch, but the blonde insisted that wasn't needed. She only wanted to apologize, but somehow every word made things sound worse. She got so nervous, she suddenly needed the bathroom. So she started wandering through the house, looking for it. Then she noticed a door cracked open. To her shock, Linmo stepped out wearing only a towel. That's when he realized someone was standing there. Still holding the towel around himself, he told her to say why she was there. But her mind was already racing. She quickly apologized and said she was only looking for the bathroom. She hurriedly insisted she hadn't seen anything, hadn't looked at anything, and never meant to notice what was under the towel, then claimed she'd already forgotten it anyway. But then she remembered the luck of the daughter of destiny and started wondering if her wild thoughts were somehow coming true. She was sure something intense was about to happen, starting with her own emotions. Now she couldn't even tell what this feeling in her chest was. Working up her courage, she told Linmo it was still too soon for them to do this. Too bad she couldn't finish, because something hit her chest hard. It was Lin, the 1100th punch, his fast answer to protect his purity from dangerous women. He had clearly gotten very good at guarding his innocence. Whatever she was trying to do, he told her to control herself. Back in the room, they finally had a more normal talk. The blonde said she came to apologize for failing to protect him last time, but Linmo told her that was Yan Hui's fault, not hers. Even so, she had brought him a pile of gifts and hoped he'd accept them as her apology. He said that wasn't needed, but if she wanted to pay for the broken wall, that would help. Since it was late, he wanted to rest, so if she was done, she could leave. So she quietly stepped out and closed the door behind her. Outside, she leaned against the wall, frustrated by how badly it went. Little by little, she slid down it until she was sitting on the floor. This was not the feeling she wanted in her heart. Then she started thinking back on everything she'd shared with Linmo so far, and it hurt more than she expected. Inside, he went back to his absurdly pure boy routine. Meanwhile, the blonde peered at him through the broken wall. Then she went back into his room and called his name again. This time, she was blunt. She asked him to be her boyfriend. She waited nervously for his answer. After that, she said she would only ask once. She didn't want to pressure him after the kidnapping, especially since he still hadn't fully recovered. But when she tried to keep going, she started to stammer. In the end, she blurted out that she liked taking him out and even liked the smell he left in the helmet. That seemed to land because he started sweating a little. She liked how he tried to protect his purity even when he misunderstood her. He was different, and she knew she might mean nothing to him. Still, she'd keep trying until one day she became good enough for him. By the time she finished, she looked as worn out as if she'd run a marathon. Linmo got up and walked toward her. She had no idea what to do now or if this confession had only pushed him away. Still, she was the kind of girl who didn't speak without thinking first. Giving up was not in her nature. Now Linmo was backed against the wall because even he couldn't stay calm after a confession like that. Cold sweat ran down his face. He swallowed and got ready to answer. He said they'd only known each other for 6 months, yet she was already saying she liked him. Did she really think love was something that shallow? Still, if that was what she wanted, then she should chase it, because she had the strength to do that. She lit up with joy, said goodbye, and on her way out, asked him to come with her tomorrow for the photo shoot. From the window, he watched the blonde leave in high spirits. The little woman asked her master if he was all right, and whether something was bothering him. She wanted to know why he hadn't simply refused. After all, she was the daughter of destiny, blessed with absurd luck. Even if he was strong, stopping her would be hard. Even a rejection might not matter if heaven kept helping her. But love isn't decided by luck alone. Still, if luck could reach a heart that had been alone for 10,000 years, maybe there was no reason to block it. It was worth thinking about. Even people in love can be just as foolish as everyone else. The next day, they told him to face the camera. Now Linmo was dressed up and posing for pictures. Then he changed outfits and struck another pose. This time, they had him dressed like an athlete. The blonde said those outfits missed his real charm. His school uniform suited him best. It made no sense to him, but she kept pushing for the uniform for reasons she kept to herself. After that, he changed into something more formal. At last, they got the voting results. Linmodia won, but because they didn't know much about his background, he still needed to be tested. Someone asked how they planned to do that. The redhead was handling it, and if she had concerns, she should bring him in for them to see. Right away, she thought of the blonde and how she might react. She arranged the meeting for the next day at the hotel, at 6:30 in the evening. Still, no one clearly said whether they would come, but the world itself was on the line, so they had to be very careful. After that, he ended the call. It was finally time for them to meet Linmo. An employee asked how they should handle her request to change his scenery, so he brought in 20 school-age girls. Then he ordered their feet tied and their legs broken. After that, he had them dumped into the sea with stones on their feet. To him, all that trash meant nothing next to what Yutong held in her arms. Besides not standing out in the photos, Linmo didn't seem special. One of them asked why Zhu had brought a sword after saying she'd come dressed casually. She replied that she had never been apart from her sword, it had stayed with her whole life. People from every sect were there, and Hongling's granddaughter was either amazing or just foolish. Someone warned the gray-haired woman not to drink too much, since the meeting mattered. She said she came to see Hongling, and listening to Blonde scream all day would be unbearable. Then they finally arrived, and she was ready to see what kind of boy this was. She was shocked at once by what she saw. The blonde came in with him and asked if she was late. It couldn't be. She felt like she could see straight through him. Soon, everyone was seated at the table. He came partly to ask if any of them knew where the venerable demon was, and partly because the blonde asked him to. But from the way they looked at him, he already knew he couldn't rely on those lustful women for help. The old woman said that staring at the boy like that would ruin their image, then told Yatang to introduce him. Yatang called him her boyfriend Linmo, and he immediately corrected her. They were not together. He skipped all the personal introductions and said he'd eat then leave. The gray-haired woman said he was quite a delight. Then she asked Yatang's little puppy if he'd stop eating for a moment and talk with her alone. She heard he liked tea, and offered him a special kind, only she could make. It smelled like golden silk tea. She said the food in front of him was nothing special, and urged him to try her tea instead. The blonde caught the bad vibe right away. She saw a little powder slip from under the woman's nail, maybe party powder, maybe something worse. She shot to her feet and demanded to know what had been mixed into the tea. The sly woman defended herself, saying a lady from the Shia family wouldn't ruin her name over a lie. She swore she put nothing in it, and if she had, she'd cut off her own head and offer it up. Then she added that if she was innocent, she wanted to borrow her boyfriend for a few days. That pushed the blonde over the edge. She stepped in close, pressing against her, and challenged her to say that again if she dared. She was sure that tramp had done something, unless this was all just bait. Either way, she warned Linmo not to drink it. The other woman calmly said the choice was his. Then she leaned in and whispered that no one in the immortal world knew who she really was, and she didn't mind exposing it. The gray-haired woman warned her to watch herself. She'd only lived this long because of her mercy. Linmo could already tell she and Yutang were serious trouble, and he started wondering if all female cultivators were like this. Even after all that, she asked again if he wanted tea. And yes, something did seem to be in it. It had no color and no smell, but he sensed a weird presence, like a venomous parasite that was very hard to detect. It was so subtle even he couldn't separate the traces clearly, which was why this cheap trick had lasted so long. Everyone at the table noticed, yet no one stepped in. This dinner was clearly a test. If he drank it, his power would block the poison and that might expose him. But if he refused, they'd suspect he was an expert and keep probing him, making future cultivation much harder. He was stuck, unsure how to escape it. Then a hand slammed down and snatched the cup. The blonde drank it all in one gulp. Linmo was so stunned he dropped his food. She took the poison for him, hoping that if anything happened, they'd remember what kind of bond they had. That was enough for the old woman, who said she had a treasure to show her. She asked if it wasn't adorable, but it was really just a strange rat. This rat hunted yang energy and could sense people whose bodies could cultivate, so they planned to use it to judge whether Linmo could be her partner. There was just one problem. No one in his family had been able to cultivate for 18 generations. Then, to her surprise, the rat started squealing without stopping. Still in the old woman's hand, it almost lost its mind. Everyone was stunned by how strongly it reacted. The gray-haired woman told the old lady to let it go. The second she did, it shot across the table toward Linmo. Then it sprang right at him. Linny flicked it away with one finger. Still eating, he told the old woman to handle her rat. Then he said it didn't matter. Her friends clearly didn't like him, so he was leaving. But the blonde asked him to wait. She wanted him to at least hear her out. The blindfolded woman said the rat was always timid. Even when it found someone with pure yang energy, it only watched. The old woman, still shaken, said this was far beyond pure yang. With tears in her eyes, she called it the supreme body, something she'd only heard about in legends. She said the Zhao family's daughter was unbelievably lucky, and she couldn't hide her jealousy. What happened that night had to stay secret, and anyone who talked would be punished hard. The gray-haired woman thought to herself that Yutang would never be able to resist a body like that. The two left on her motorcycle. Lenmo wanted to know if the tea really had something in it, and the blonde said that woman wouldn't dare attack her openly. Since she hadn't come after her, it probably wasn't too serious. Then her eyes widened at something ahead. A dog ran in front of the motorcycle. To avoid hitting it, she made a dangerous turn, choosing to risk both of them instead. For a moment, all she saw was Lenmo being thrown into the air, but she caught his arm. Both of them crashed to the ground. She landed on top of him, and Len, the protagonist, asked if she could get off. Worried, she asked if he was hurt, but he was fine. Apparently, falling off a motorcycle only hurts in real life. Then he looked at the blonde's hands. She tossed snow in his face and suggested a snowball fight. The poison was kicking in. It could make people childish, flush their face, and leave them burning hot. It stripped away normal self-control, making the victim easy to tease or dangerously lustful. Thinking about that, he looked at the beautiful woman acting like she wanted to sit on his face, so he agreed to play for a bit, as long as it didn't take too long. It reminded him of the past, when she always asked him to play all day. Normal people could stop and rest, but as a cultivator, he felt he couldn't. She knew that with demons out there, he would never choose that. The truth was, she'd been waiting for him this whole time. She was upset. He still wasn't an immortal emperor, even though the elders believed he could become one. So she asked how long it would take. How long until he became immortal? Reached paradise, became an emperor, and defeated the demons. She desperately wanted an answer. 1,000 years? 10,000? If so, the world might end first, and maybe he'd never marry a mortal like her. Right now, all she wanted was half an hour a day to play with him in the snow. After that, she apologized for putting him in such a hard spot. Then she told him to go be the hero he wanted to be. Maybe they could meet again in another life. Because she'd keep bothering him to come play in the snow with her. The monstrous sword says this generation of cultivators is foolish. They're all fools. He never should have handed that place over to weak mortals. Since the Demon King doesn't care, he'll destroy it himself. The girl crawled, barely able to breathe under the crushing pressure. The moment he got close, the monstrous sword struck hard, but the Emperor appeared and blocked it for her. Enraged by what the sword had done, he answered with a slash of his own. The monster was annoyed that despite being a demon sword, they'd sent a rookie after it. He warned that his brothers would arrive soon, and the sword wouldn't escape. The demon sword mocked him, asking what would happen first, his death or their arrival. The fight went on, brutal and non-stop. Just one strike had already done terrible damage. Then he realized something worse than his injuries. The girl he had protected was flying through the air. It was too late. The demon sword was ready to kill her. Then he noticed something strange. Something was gripping his feet. The monster sneered and told the rookie he'd been tricked. His focus had been on the woman, and now he couldn't move. The killing blow was meant for him, but she stepped into its path. He could only stare as she died in front of him. The monster raised a hand. Her body caught in its claws. It shook her, tossed her aside like trash, and said the rookie was next. but it never got to finish him. The venerable demon was calling it back, and it wondered if its master had learned about this little stunt. Furious, the emperor demanded to know if it served the venerable demon. The sword sneered that, servant or not, this rookie had no right to ask. He should thank the venerable demon. Without that summons, he wouldn't be hailed as a hero by the immortals. He turned to Ying, who was frozen in shock, and asked if she was all right. Barely speaking, she said the boy had come back. She asked if it was really him, because she couldn't see anymore. Crying, he told her it was him, and begged her to hold on until his brothers arrived, but she said she couldn't last any longer, and needed him to listen. Behind the bamboo forest at the edge of the cliff, he would have to go alone, though she hoped she could follow him in the next life. Her last words to him were an apology. The fire kept swallowing the forest while the emperor mourned. The future demon king told her father the sword was dangerous, and worse fallout was bound to come. He couldn't keep sheltering something that unstable. He should learn from her. Killing and destroying weren't always wrong. Her father answered with a hard slap across the face. To him, killing common people was no different from killing bandits. He said her weakness would ruin everything their ancestors built, and maybe she wasn't fit to become the next venerable demon. As snow fell, he remembered what she used to ask for, and how he never made time for it. Then his eyes caught something. Looking up at the moon, he remembered her joke that if he kept training, his hair would turn gray. The memories made him cry. She had told him to become a hero so they could meet again in the next life, and now the person before him was the blonde, but he still remembered his first love's promise, that she'd keep bugging him to play in the snow with her. Now all he wants is to stop grieving and quit repeating the same mistakes. The blonde stared at the screen, confused. She had found something she didn't expect. She had to read it twice. Wei Qin had tried to take her own life, and this time she succeeded. She grieved for the woman. A moment later, another message popped up on the computer. That person wasn't doing well, and was shutting down the gaming team. Now her anger turned to Hang Xinyi. As far as she was concerned, this was all her fault. If not for the blonde, she and Xinyi never would have ended up like this. Nearly passing out, she grieved for Wei Qin. At the same time, that sinister woman wondered what would happen if the blonde died right there. Still, she apologized. She never thought her family would pressure her this much. Then someone else appeared and said that wasn't true. This wasn't only about the game. She demanded to know how Hang Xinyi could be there. Driving a knife into her own chest, she asked if she really wanted to know. If so, she needed to think hard about it. The real truth. She was certain the blonde would figure it out in the end. The blonde slammed both hands on the desk and told her to wait, but she was already alone in the classroom. Then the blue-clad girl showed up at lunch and asked if the blonde had eaten. The blonde went straight to the point, asking where Lin Mo was. The girl said she expected that, so she came prepared. He was up on the terrace and he wasn't by himself. That only made her more jealous. As the blonde rushed off, the girl warned her not to cause trouble. She couldn't believe someone like Xinyi would be interested in a guy. After all, she'd never said anything about it, so she went to see for herself what was happening on the terrace. Her eyes went wide in shock. So the rumors were true, the two of them were just playing chess. She walked up and told the girl the whole school knew she liked Lin Mo, except apparently her. The girl shot back that they'd played there every day since they met, and everyone knew that everyone but the blonde. That only made the blonde more annoyed. Since she was already there, she had a question. It was about her older sister, but the brunette said that question meant nothing. She and the blonde's sister had nothing to do with her anymore. The blonde admitted she'd done wrong, but she still wanted to know why the girl hated her so much. The brunette stepped closer. Looking her right in the eye, she said the blonde knew nothing. That made her press harder. What didn't she know? She wanted the answer now. If she really cared about Wei Qin, she should investigate on her own. With her power, that shouldn't be hard. The blonde warned that if this was some cruel joke, she'd make her regret it. Then she touched Lin Mo's shoulder and told him to come with her. She could play too. But as she tried to leave, the brunette grabbed her arm, leaving both Lin the 1,100th and the blonde confused. She said she wouldn't let their daily chess game be ruined, and that the blonde was getting too close to him. The blonde fired back that she was Lin Mo's girlfriend. So what was the brunette supposed to be? The answer came fast. She was the only one who could match him at chess. He got up and said he didn't belong to either of them. If they wanted to argue, he was leaving. Before he could go, the blonde grabbed his arm. If he left, he was leaving with her. In the end, he told Yu Tang she was acting like a child. She snapped back that he could go tell the teacher. But the blonde couldn't understand why she felt like this whenever Lin Mo was around that woman. Then Sikroen seized her arm. That instantly set the blonde off. It was the second time she'd grabbed her like that. The brunette asked if that was supposed to matter, because she didn't care. Enraged, the blonde reminded her she'd already said she liked Lin Mo. Jealous and boiling over, she demanded to know if the girl was trying to steal him. The brunette said she was sick of watching the blonde bother a boy like him. Her aura flared as she warned her one last time to let go right now. That annoyed Xinran. The blonde was only some so-called daughter of destiny, but the blonde only grew angrier. Her aura swelled. She couldn't stand that an ordinary girl dared challenge an immortal. So her power kept rising and rising. Then she felt something strange. Her hand seemed stuck inside solid stone. It felt like she was pushing against a giant mountain. She couldn't move at all, and she had no clue how this was possible. After knowing the brunette for so long, she never imagined she might be an immortal too. Now she looked at her very differently. Off to the side, Linmo could tell this was getting messy. He started to question who Shinran really was. Later, the blonde rode her motorcycle, lost in thought. Shinran being a cultivator made no sense, but for now she'd focus on learning what really happened. Then someone called to say they'd gotten the recording she asked for, and that the case involved, but she cut them off and told them to send the video now. Up to that point, nothing in the footage had seemed suspicious, and she hadn't doubted anything. But with her luck getting stronger, that dream had to mean something, so she had to follow it through. Once the video started, she caught something important. It showed the building near the accident site. In the footage, she spotted Xianyu walking by, and remembered the threat she'd heard from her. Xianyu was hurting mortals again. This time, she wouldn't let it go. Inside a club, some men bragged that being with an immortal from the Yang family was an honor. Without looking up from her phone, she told them to entertain each other and leave her alone. It was clear her thoughts were somewhere else. Everything she'd found said Linmo was ordinary, but she suspected his past had been hidden, a supreme pure Yang body, and it made her furious that the blonde had gotten hold of something that precious. Then the door was hit hard. The blonde had arrived, furious. The blue-haired guy asked what she was doing there. She threw the recording onto the table. There was something Xinyu needed to answer. The gray-haired woman sneered that her family never changed, and the blonde still had no manners. Then she told her lackeys to get out. Only the two women and the blue-haired guy stayed behind. The blonde demanded to know why she'd been with that girl that day. The woman lowered her eyes with a mocking smile. She claimed she had no idea what the blonde meant. Since she wouldn't answer, the blonde decided to remind her. Back then, Wei Qin had been on her team, and they'd reached the spring selection finals. The team they beat there was called Heaven's Gate. The gray-haired woman asked if she was supposed to care. The blonde snapped and told her to stop lying. She knew Suyun Yu had led that team. Out of jealousy, she'd hurt Suyun Yu and killed Wei Qin. She did it to get back at the blonde and feed her twisted pride. Suyun Yu covered her mouth in fake surprise. After hearing it all, she let out a sigh and burst into laughter. The blonde, dead serious, demanded to know what was so funny. Sang Yu said Zhao Yutong was actually pretty cute. Then she calmly lit a cigarette. Back then she was bored, so she made a team and it lost in the finals. She never knew anything about the other side and only now learned it was the blonde's team. But if she'd known who was there, she definitely wouldn't have wasted that second chance. The blue-haired guy added that the gray-haired woman came from a strict immortal family and wouldn't bother with something so small. She'd only gone out for a walk because she was bored. That was all. She also claimed she didn't know the girl, and being in the same footage was just a coincidence. The blonde snatched back the phone and challenged that. They went into the building together and Jian Yu came out right before Wei Qin jumped. That was no coincidence. The gray-haired woman replied that lots of people went through that place, so blaming her now was ridiculous. Still, if the blonde wanted to fight, she could try it. She wasn't scared, and this time she'd be serious. No hesitation, so the blonde should leave before she truly got angry. Furious, the blonde kicked something nearby. She told her to say that again, and the blue-haired guy had to hold her back. He said he'd let this slide today out of respect for her father. But the blonde swore that once she found the proof she needed, she'd wipe out Xianyu and her whole family. With that, she turned to leave. The blue-haired guy said Yu Tang was too reckless, but her threat sounded real. The gray-haired woman gave him a cold look and asked if he doubted her. He said that wasn't it, but the year's already been chaotic, and angering the family that backed them most was a bad idea. Still smoking, she told him to leave. He didn't need to stay, so he went, muttering that they were all rude. She was left alone with her cigarette. Then she made a call and ordered them to find whoever leaked the recording and kill them at once. After that, she slammed the phone onto the table. She admitted she'd targeted the blonde before, and killing a few mortals never bothered her. This time she'd do it the brutal way, with no mercy. She meant to kill the blonde for good. Later, at a restaurant, he looked at the server. She was showing him the menu options. Seeing the fried crabs, Linmo said that was what he'd ordered. The girl confirmed it was. Lin, the protagonist, asked why he got something else instead. She explained it was a special meal arranged by the blonde, and the chef had never seen such fancy ingredients. Linmo thought all of that was pointless. Nearby, the blonde heard him and looked hurt. She said it was a rare dish from far away and she wanted his help figuring out the ingredients. Since she asked for help, Linmo the 1100th agreed, though not happily. That answer made her clap in excitement. The blonde then told the chef to bring the rest, since her friend wouldn't eat in public. Knowing Linmo liked quiet, she'd even prepared a private room for him. He simply told her she didn't need to keep doing pointless things like this. Hearing that, she grabbed his arm and he glanced at her sideways. To her, it wasn't pointless at all. It meant everything. She's completely into him, and hopes one day she'll be his first. To her, this means a lot. Her words catch him off guard for a moment. Then he gives her a small smile. If that's what she wants, he's okay with it. As Linmo heads off, the blonde notices someone coming. What she sees shocks her right away. It's the brunette, asking him for another game. The blonde cuts in and says they can go to the room she prepared. If Lin, the protagonist, wants company, he can be with her instead. The brunette says the blonde is always the same, pushy, carefree, and always making trouble for other people. She waves a hand around to make her point. A bunch of students are already watching since lunch gossip spreads fast. The brunette says the blonde wanted to give Lin Mo some peace, but only made him stand out more. She adds that she got hurt because of her too. That makes the blonde snap that she'd had enough. She drives the crowd off, saying there's nothing worth watching and they should leave. After a long sigh, she admits she thought over the issue with her older sister and knows she caused real pain. She knows she made trouble and understands why she's resented, but she's still not giving Lin Mo to her rival. The brunette refuses to give up her chess partner either. While they keep bickering, Lin Mo 1100th says he's leaving. Really, he's been thinking hard about what the brunette is. The blonde quickly tries to stop him, but the brunette puts out an arm to block her. She tells her not to make things harder for Lin Mo. Zhao Yutang fires back that she doesn't care if the girl is a cultivator too. She shouldn't use chess as an excuse to stay close to him. If she likes him, fine, but she needs to stop meddling. She accuses her of getting close to him just to get back at the blonde and drag his feelings into it. That would only make things worse for her. But the brunette says that's not true at all. Blushing all over, she insists she doesn't like him. They're only chess partners, nothing else. Hearing that, the blonde releases her collar. Since she seems sincere and means no harm, the blonde lets it slide. Still, she says the brunette can't compete with her because she can give Lin Mo anything. So what can the brunette give him? Without missing a beat, the brunette answers, chess, and Zhao Yutang has no reply. Holding her head, the blonde says she can't deal with this anymore. Now the brunette is left alone on the terrace without her friend. She reaches across the chessboard. Playing by herself feels painfully dull. She'd done it for decades, but this was the most boring game yet. Her eyes keep going to the terrace door. Even after all that, he still hasn't shown up. Then she thinks back to what the blonde asked. What could she even give Lin Mo? Honestly, she doesn't know. All she has to offer is a cold tower and a game of chess. She'd regained some strength, so the cold meant nothing to her. But Lin, a protagonist, was only mortal and still played with her there without ever complaining. That surprised her. The great demon actually seemed to care about an ordinary human. Still, if she claimed the world as Demon King, she could give him anything. Lost in that thought, she hears the door open. She turns at once, hoping it's Lin Mo, but it's only a small creature. That leaves her unsure what to make of it. The cultivators here are weak, and the only true dangers are the immortal emperor and the demon sword. She leans on the railing and keeps thinking. In all her thousands of years, she'd never felt this restless, and she wonders if he went to the room Zhao Yutang prepared. Maybe people in this era are more sensitive, and maybe what happened earlier pushed him there. Even so, she doesn't get why she's thinking about him this much. He's just a chess partner, but the blonde's words got to her. She doesn't like him, and she hopes Lin Mo didn't get the wrong idea. So she decides to clear it up soon before any misunderstanding grows. When he picks up, she tells him who it is. He says he knows she's a good girl, and that she'll find someone better than him, then hangs up. That is not what she expected. She slams her phone to the floor and snaps that he should hear people out before making assumptions. Embarrassed, Han decides to find the guy and clear things up. She blames herself for letting Yutang get in her head, and tries to convince herself she doesn't like Lin Mo. In the hallway, she spots the blonde girl's friend. Han walks over and asks if she knows where he is. Annoyed, the girl starts to say no, then suddenly thinks of something. She claims she saw him playing basketball on the school court, and tells Han to hurry if she wants to catch him. Han can hardly believe it. Basketball is the last thing he'd play. The blue-haired girl says she doesn't care whether Han believes her, and leaves right away. Han finds it suspicious, but goes anyway. A few students are practicing on the court. Han looks around for Lin Mo. Instead, she spots Zhao Yutang playing. Yutang sinks a shot and gets praised by the others. Annoyed at being lied to, Han decides to ask her rival directly. Just then, a few girls pass by carrying sports club furniture. Yutang notices Han. Han fixes her with a stare and bluntly asks where he is. Spinning the ball on her finger, Yutang says she doesn't know and asks if he didn't go with her. Han brushes her off until someone calls out to her. A ball flies at her hard, but she stops it with one hand. Han asks if the blonde has something to say. Yutang casually invites her to play since she's already there. Han tosses the ball back and says that sounds boring. She adds that the game is childish. Just throw a ball into a hoop and win. Yutang follows the ball with her eyes and goes still when it drops cleanly through the hoop. Han asks what was so funny. Irritated, Yutang says one lucky shot doesn't make Han good, and asks if she's scared to face her. She adds that a polished girl like Han should stick to Go. Then she tells her to leave, which only annoys Han more. As she turns away, Han thinks Yutang is acting like some chosen daughter of heaven. The more she thinks about it, the angrier she gets that the blonde keeps provoking her. With a grin, Yutang asks if she didn't like hearing that. Han turns back and says the first one to score wins. Smugly, Yutang says that if she wins, Han can never play Go with Lin Mo again. Then she offers the other side of the deal. If she loses, she won't interfere anymore. Han agrees. A few boys gather to bet on the match and film it. Yutang asks if Han is really going to play in her uniform or if she isn't taking this seriously. Han answers that only worthy opponents deserve that much effort. Taking the ball, she makes it clear Yutang isn't one of them. At that moment, the girls carrying club furniture ask to pass through with a table. A nail falls from it onto the court. No one notices the danger. Han takes the lead and announces the game is starting. But Yutong wants one more rule. Neither of them can use immortal powers. They don't want to cause trouble for ordinary students. Han says she won't need powers to beat a beginner. Yutong warns that anyone who uses them loses. Han hands her the ball to take the first move. Yutong dribbles toward her opponent. She tells Han to watch her crush her. Han doesn't move, which throws Yutong off. With a quick feint, Yutong slips past her. She keeps dribbling and rushes for the basket. Some students recognize the move as Yutong's lightning zigzag. Certain she'll win easily. She smirks, then realizes the ball is gone. She whips around, stunned that Han stole it without her noticing. Han coolly says there's no need to switch from defense to offense. She throws the ball back at Yutong and tells her to keep attacking. With a cruel smile, Han says she'll keep playing until Yutong has nothing left. The crowd loudly cheers Yutong on. Yutong admits she got careless and says she'll be serious now. She bursts forward like lightning, leaving Han behind. The crowd goes wild. She's even faster this time. Yutong leaps for the shot, but a blur rises beside her. She's shocked when Han jumps even higher and shuts her down. Han steals the ball again. Yutong can't believe it. They both land hard. Han mocks her and asks if she wants to try again. Furious, Yutong demands another round. This time she dribbles carefully while Han stays still. Yutong remembers Han was never this strong before and briefly wonders if this is really the same girl. But she pushes that thought aside and focuses on making a plan. Yutong lowers her stance and Han guesses she's going for a direct shot. Han jumps to block it and Yutong uses that opening to drive past. After fooling her, she taunts that Han was too easy to trick. Han sprints to catch up. Yutong jumps, ready to score. Han refuses to give up and charges after her, then leaps to block. She smacks the ball away hard and Yutong crashes down. The crowd gasps, saying that block had to hurt. Han smugly tells her to admit defeat because she can't beat her. Yutong gets back up and refuses to accept that she lost. Han says it won't matter how many times they try, the result will stay the same. The gap between them is pure strength, so she tells Yutong to give up. Burning with anger, Yutong throws hard, cursing Han to hell. Han turns with barely enough time to react. Yutong dashes past her. The ball rattles around the rim, and Han suddenly understands the setup. She rushes in to stop it, but Yutong shoves her aside. Han steps on the fallen nail. Even so, she keeps moving to stop the play, now at a clear disadvantage. She realizes this is what makes facing the Daughter of Destiny so hard. Yutong jumps above Han's block. Furious, she yells for Han to move and unconsciously activates her powers. Then she slams the ball through the hoop with all her force. Han is thrown backward and broken glass cuts into her. The crowd stares at the ruined basket. Yutong standing tall and Han on the ground. Yutong steps back and admits she lost. Some boys rush over to help Han and tell her she needs the infirmary. She insists she's fine and says they're only scratches. Then blood starts running and the boys urge her to go. They even warn they'll call emergency services if she refuses. Han remembers how humiliating it was last time she got badly hurt, but finally agrees to go while everyone wonders how she's still walking. A few boys find Linmo eating alone in a room. They tell him what happened between the girls on the court. One says Han is in the infirmary and that he should visit her, but he refuses. The boys get mad, saying this all happened because of him and he should take responsibility. Mo gives them a cold look that shuts them up. They quickly back off, saying they already told him, and whether he goes is up to him. Irritated, Lin the protagonist wonders if he should go after all. A moment later, the infirmary doctor opens the door and seeing him outside, says he can come in and see Han. Reluctantly, he steps inside and decides he may as well talk to her now that he's here. He starts by saying he heard she got hurt, then suddenly freezes. Han turns around, embarrassed with her shirt open. Red-faced, she looks at him and apologizes for the misunderstanding with Yutong. Though she didn't like Yutong making him sound weak, that annoys him. He says Han was a worthy opponent, and he doesn't want her thinking like the other girls. Han asks if he means the girls who only want his body. Mo stays stone-faced, and she jokes that she should have taken a picture of that expression. As she pulls glass from her thigh, she says she's not like them. His face heats up anyway. Being around a half-dressed girl makes it hard to stay calm. Seeing her flinch, MC asks if she's just pretending to be tough. Face tense, she snaps that she obviously isn't. He points out that she's terrible at bandaging and only making the wounds worse. Since he knows some medicine, he offers to help. Han tries to wave him off, but he kneels to examine the injuries. As he removes the glass, he tells her not to move. She trembles from the pain while he carefully pulls each piece out. Linmo says her leg has a lot of broken glass in it and explains he'll remove everything, disinfect the cuts, and wrap them so they won't scar. Time passes until he's done bandaging her leg. He says that treatment is only temporary. Next, he plans to treat her back and rear. Han panics, but he asks if something's wrong or if she suddenly isn't hurting anymore. Flustered, she says she'll handle that part herself. He tells her she can't, and she doesn't need to worry because he'll do it. Han insists on taking care of it alone, thinking there's no way she can show that part of herself to a boy. Then Mo tells her to take off her clothes, leaving her stunned. She hesitates, already feeling exposed. Then a thought hits her and blushing, she asks what exactly he's trying to do. He says he's not interested in her, he only wants to treat the wounds. Han mutters that it's just a small scrape and not worth all this. In a firm voice, he tells her to stop wasting time and turn around. To him, she's acting like a baby who doesn't want medicine, and he scolds her for being childish when she's supposed to be a grown woman. Blushing harder, she says that's not why. Then she asks him to turn around while she undresses, and he does. Han warns him not to peek, and Lin Mo again says he has no interest in her. A moment later, she tells him she's taken everything off. Instead of turning back right away, he goes to shut the curtains, and Han yells asking what he's doing. He tells her it's after class, and students could pass by and see her like that. Then he tells her to lie face down on the bed and stop thinking weird things. Han does as he's told and quietly says she's ready. Once she lies down, he sees even more glass stuck in her back. Lin Mo puts on gloves and says he's starting. Seeing how calmly she lies there, he can't help wondering if people in this world have no shame at all. Then Lin, the protagonist, starts pulling the shards out with tweezers. Han is shocked that he's good at more than games. He even knows how to treat wounds. To her, not even some demon witch could be this skilled and this nice. Carefully, he removes each bit of glass and splinter. He drops them one by one into a tray. After that, all that was left was medicine and fresh bandages. Good thing she was a cultivator, if not, she'd be stuck in bed for a whole month. By the time they're done, the day is nearly over. Lin Mo finally says the bandaging is finished. That's when he realizes Han fell asleep. Annoyed, he takes off his blazer. Then he drapes it over Han. As Lin Mo heads for the school gate, someone calls out to him. The voice mocks him as Yu Tang's toy. A gray-haired woman steps in and says it's late, offering him a ride home. The two face each other in the street. With a blank look, she suggests a game of cat and mouse. Lin, the 1100th, she says, will be the mouse, and he'd better run fast. Yang will be the cat, and once she finds him, she'll tear him apart. She goes on, saying she'll chop him into pieces and mail them to Yu Tang one by one. That way Yu Tang can wait in fear for the next piece of Lin Mo to arrive each day. Still looking calm, she wonders how long he'll last before she catches him. Then Yang rests a hand on his shoulder and whispers for him to run, because the hunt starts tonight. He simply walks off and Yang tells him not to worry too much. As she watches him go, she says Yu Tang will pay for what she did to her. Lin Mo keeps walking without any expression. What bothered him most was that there seemed to be no easy way out of the immortal world. He figures Yang Tanyu isn't scary when she acts normal, but once someone angers her, she won't stop until she gets revenge. Passing a men's clothing shop, he realizes hiding his identity in this mess won't be easy. The clerk greets him as he walks in. Remembering Yang's hand on his shoulder, he decides changing clothes is the safest move. She had left a mark on him, and since removing it might expose him, all he could do was work around it. A while later, Lin Mo calls out to Chen, the fox. The little fox answers right away. He tells her to take his old shirt and throw it far from home. Irritated, Lin, the protagonist, hopes Yang was only messing with him, because if she really tries something, he'll crush her. Back in the infirmary, Han wakes up and sits up, still holding Lin Mo's jacket. After all her years of fighting, she can't believe she got careless enough to fall asleep in front of someone else. Blushing, she realizes she owes him again. Then she remembers Yu Tang asking what she'd ever done for him. Han starts thinking maybe she should invite him to dinner, since he likes good food. She decides to look up how people in this world ask a boy out to dinner. Not long after, she gets embarrassed, thinking the Demon Queen now owes favors to a teenage boy. Her eyes drift to Lin Mo's jacket. She notices it smells nice. Red-faced, Han flops back onto the bed. She grumbles that this world has way too many rules. Even the demon world wasn't this complicated. Finally, she makes up her mind and summons a copy of herself. Han orders the clone to practice the whole dinner invitation with her. The copy agrees but points out they still haven't booked a place or set the time. Han tells the clone to call Lin Mo and invite him, but the copy shoots back asking why she has to do it. Nervously, Han says he saw her naked and treated her injuries, so it would be shameless not to call. Once she gets it, the clone dials immediately, leaving Han stunned by how direct she is. Han trembles while the clone speaks with Lin, the 1100th, in a flat tone. The copy says she'd like to buy him dinner because she doesn't like owing favors, and Han nearly panics hearing it. Then she hears the clone set a meeting for after class, and her excitement starts building. When the clone says he agreed, Han jumps up in joy. Her family scolds her for yelling so late at night, and she quickly calms down. Then she asks for the phone so she can make the reservation herself. She takes a breath before calling. The moment she speaks, her tone turns sharp and commanding. Even the clone is shocked by the change. As Han talks to Shen, she orders him to book the restaurant and personally choose the chef and ingredients, because the guest is important. Shen asks what grade of food she wants. Han answers at once, the best. She also wants every ingredient displayed, with the chef cooking in front of them and serving the dishes himself. Han says she wants to see what the clan's top chef can really do. Shen promises he'll handle it. After hanging up, Han lets out a long sigh. Then she calls the clone back over to keep practicing. Meanwhile, someone asks Shen on the phone if he really means the clan's best chef. He says yes right away. The request came from the Demon Queen herself. The other person explains that the top cooks all hold high status and won't be happy about cooking for her. Shen tells them to stop doubting it. This concerns the Demon Queen and no one gets to question the order. He feels relieved things worked out, especially after already failing at the beauty contest, though he still can't understand why she's making such a huge deal over one dinner. Back home, Han drops onto the couch. worn out. She spent the whole night practicing what she'd say at dinner. Her copy tries to calm her down, saying enough practice keeps you from making stupid mistakes. But Han snaps that of course she's worried this isn't just some normal meal. By lunchtime the next day, Yutong is sitting alone on a bench. She's eating a snack, looking completely bored. The blonde grumbles that she got mad, used spiritual energy and lost the bet with Han. Still complaining, she wonders why she had to leave instead of staying with them. Just then her phone rings, and she answers with obvious annoyance. Sarcastically, she says Yutong is dead and tells the caller to burn incense for her. But the caller quickly warns her that several major demon clan figures are gathering in the city. Yutong asks what's going on and whether her grandmother already knows, but the caller has no answer. She says that if her grandmother can't come back, she'll deal with it herself. That only makes her more annoyed. First the emperor, then the demon queen, and now the clan too. Then she spots Han and wonders why she isn't up on the roof with Linmo. Yutang stops her and asks where he is, but Han walks right past and says she doesn't know. Yutang, annoyed, says Han should be using lunch to get closer to him. Han fires back with a cold warning that Linmo wouldn't play along if they made things too obvious. The blonde laughs and tells her she brought this on herself. Han gets irritated, while Yutang keeps acting like boys are just hard to deal with. Then Han lets slip that she's having dinner with him, just to get under Yutang's skin. She walks off pleased with herself, leaving Yutang cursing. After class, Yutang goes to check things out herself. Using an earpiece, she asks base support for information. They report that the demon clan booked the whole hotel and gathered there together. They also saw Han and Linmo go inside, but after that, nothing. Yutang immediately gets on her motorcycle and says she's heading there now. At the same time, Lin, the protagonist, and Han are eating alone in the restaurant hall. Lin, the 1100th, is fully enjoying the meal. Han happily cuts his meat for him. Then she offers him the pieces she prepared. Linmo is surprised by how proper and well-mannered she is and starts seeing her as polite and respectable. He even regrets having to hide who he is because otherwise he might have taken her in as a disciple. Han blushes, proud that her all-night dinner practice is paying off and glad that he is easy to please. In the kitchen, though, everyone is in an uproar. One demon master says the girl they're serving is supposed to be the queen of all demons. The poison queen warns everyone not to meet her eyes if they want to stay alive. The ghost division leader praises her for keeping Linmo close, saying that would cancel out the daughter of destiny. Their leader cuts the gossip short and orders everyone back to work. If this dinner goes badly, he says, heads will roll. Right then, Yang bursts in by kicking the door open. She heads straight for Linmo and says she found him. Calling him Little Mouse, she pushes Han's patience to the limit, even though Han keeps a blank face. Then someone taps Yang on the shoulder. The master glares at her and demands to know what the hell she's doing there. The moment Yang recognizes the division leader, she's terrified. Seeing all the demon clan heavyweights there, she starts realizing how bad this is. Holding a cleaver, the man tells her the place is closed and orders her out. Shaking, Yang apologizes and says she made a mistake. The master kicks her out on the spot. Then through voice transmission, she is told not to run and to wait until the guests finish eating. A little later, Yutang comes running down the hall. She finds Yang on her knees and asks where Linmo is. Still shaken, Yang says they're all inside. Yutang is baffled by how broken she looks. Inside, the master apologizes to Han for the interruption and promises no one will bother them again. Soon after, Yutang rushes into the hall asking for Linmo, but she immediately notices the head chef, who asks with a scary aura if she also came into the wrong room. That night, a taxi tears through the streets. In the front seat, Yutang's great-grandmother urges the driver to go faster. If the report is true and all the top demon clan members are gathered there, even she can't take them all on at once. Still, since Yutang and Yang went there on their own, she has no choice but to try talking things out. As she looks around, she wonders why there are no guards when everything seems so normal. Then something made her stop. In one corner, her granddaughter and Yang were kneeling without a word. She demanded to know what they were doing there. The major scolded them, saying they were acting clueless and bringing shame to cultivators. Hongling used a spell and said she had to check for herself. Yutang was stunned to see her grandmother take on an adult form. The chief apologized to Han again, promising there would be no more interruptions. Right then, the major stepped into the room. That was the moment Han's patience finally snapped. The master starts claiming she came to the wrong place, but inside he's wondering why the major showed up too. When he notices Han looking at him, he tries to steer Hongling into another room. He explains the hall was booked, hoping she takes the hint and leaves. Instead, she asks why he's making that face, and he nearly panics when he realizes she doesn't get it. She lifts a brow, knowing she can't expose who she is. At the same time, she figures the demon clan also knows Linmo carries pure Yang. Then the grandmother studies the young man because she came to confirm one important thing. Lin, the protagonist, had shown up in every major incident. Too much happened around him, and he always escaped alive unless he really was the immortal emperor. Before this, the demon queen's sword had been split in two. She kept one half, and the emperor refined the other. Now that fragment was being pulled back to its owner. She is startled when the fragment suddenly flies from her hand. For a second, the major wonders if it just floated up and crumbled apart. Then she sees the pieces flying toward where Linmo is sitting. At that point, the grandmother starts to believe MC really might be the emperor. He looks at her and silently tells her to keep quiet. As he does, a black aura wraps around him. Hongling feels a crushing pressure, and that confirms her guess. Later, the major locks Yutang in the Phoenix group's second base to think about what she did. Yutang protests, asking how she can leave Lin Mo alone in such a dangerous place, but her grandmother cuts her off and tells her to be quiet. She makes Yutang listen carefully, forbidding her from mentioning Lin the protagonist or going near him again. As for Yang, the major doesn't lock her up, but says she's a disgrace to Yang Tianqi. After the major leaves, Yang smugly says Lin Mo is bound to lose Yutang anyway, and whatever she chooses to do with him now is none of Yutang's concern. Yutang fires back, asking if Yang really thinks she's good enough for Lin the 1100th. Yang just smiles and says beating someone like him would be easy, then she adds that she'll destroy him. She goes even further, telling Yutang she'll kill him, and by the time she's released, he'll have been dead for 7 days. Yutang immediately panics at the threat, swearing under her breath. She rushes through her phone contacts. She tries to reach someone for help, but the signal there is terrible. After struggling for a while, she finally gets a warning through that Lin Mo is in danger. She begs Han to save him, saying Yang Tianyu is going to kill him. The moment Han hears that, she explodes in rage and crushes the phone in her hand. Meanwhile, Yang reaches the area near his house. In her head, she's hoping Lin Mo is ready to die. But all at once, she senses something is wrong. A killing aura crashes down on her. Yang vanishes from the spot in an instant. As she runs, she thinks that if she'd been even a little slower, she would have died and wonders whose aura that was. She's always been proud of her speed, fast enough that even the major couldn't match it. Still, tears fill her eyes because even at top speed, she can't escape that crushing pressure. She glances back, wondering if the pressure is finally fading. When she reaches a forest, she breathes easier, thinking she got away. Then someone says she looks tired and offers her water. Yang takes it, desperate with thirst. But when she looks up, the fear hits her all over again. Han is standing there with red eyes, and that same terrifying aura. Han mocks her, saying Yang was so scared she pissed herself. Then the brunette grabs her by the throat and threatens her. In a panic, Yang blurts out that she's Master Yang Tianyu's only daughter and heir to the Taoist sect of eternal life.